about that. I have questions. And it'll probably be a minute before we get started. Ian is here with us today. And Ian said, I couldn't remember exactly.
I think that's flipping fantastic.
Wait, say that again.
I said I think the fact that Ian's here is fantastic.
I do too. Good morning, everybody.
I said flipping fantastic, but
you're being a lot more. You tend to watch your language better than I do. Good morning, Ian. Good morning, Miss Carol. Anybody else in the room besides me and Mark? Because we already said howdy's in the background.
I can't decide how something happened to my view here. Maybe they did it.
Well,
everybody's got to be changing stuff all the time.
Well, you may need to pull your laptop top a little bit towards you because you're pointed a little bit up towards the corner of the height of the ceiling. That's good. That's pretty good. There, damn, what a handsome feller. Woo.
Yeah, buddy.
Hey, I got a question though. Well, maybe I don't. Looking behind you, it looks like your pictures are about to fall over, but maybe not.
No, they're not.
They're not.
Okay.
Well, if anybody saw Mark's,
Mama's got them arranged in a special way, and they're fine.
They're fine. Mark just posted something last night or this morning. I don't know when. I didn't see the time or date where the wind was blowing a little bit in his house. I didn't see that. I highly recommend you go check it out.
That was yesterday afternoon.
The clothes on the line were either like this or they were gone, I think. And there was birds that were trying to go that way that looked like they were going that way.
And my buddy from Kimmer said, hey, I just got your bloomers. And I'm like, dude, I go commando.
We don't need to know that. That's TMI there. Ian said, wind and Wyoming.
I said, I went, I'm going commando. And then I said, I made myself laugh. And then I said, maybe they were mamas. And then I made myself laugh again. So, but yeah, my war pony tried to tear my leg off, my left calf off yesterday on the outgate going out of the yard. Did I lose you?
No, I'm sitting here reading something. I was trying to catch
you. You stopped so still that I thought you were like paused.
No, I was trying to read Ian's comments here real quick because I'm trying to see
wind in Wyoming.
And he also was talking about doing a quick Google primer on. He went out and did a little research at home about the CCC.
He's been looking up the CCC, dude.
Good for you, Ian. I did too. I actually took a road trip Thursday with my buddy Phil, and we went to. I don't know how that. I'm not sure if he got what he wanted. I was hoping he would. I mean, I hope he enjoyed himself, although he did all the driving. But he'd been taking pictures of some camps and parks in Tennessee because almost all the state parks in Tennessee, at least if they have any age on them, were created by the CCC. I'll talk about that a little bit later. But he had been. Good morning, Chuck McNeil. But
good morning to everybody. Good morning, all of you. Good morning.
We went riding around Thursday and did a little exploration in this area. I'll talk about that in a minute. But
and don't let me. My wife was in the YCC.
Yeah.
And did Youth Conservation Corp.
Yeah.
And she did some stuff too. So pretty cool stuff.
Well, there has been some effort.
We can talk about that later, but anyway.
There's been some effort over the years to kind of recreate part of the. Oh, that sounds like Wolfgang.
That's the Wolfgang. I'm trying to figure out somehow I have a new bar under my screen here, and I can't figure out how to mute myself.
Oh,
if I need to be muted.
there you went.
Okay, I'm back.
Well, you ever watch you ever see the Disney movie version of Tom Sawyer where I think it was Jonathan
No.
Taylor. Now wait a minute. Jonathan Taylor Thomas or whatever his name is played. Or wait a minute, or maybe it was that guy that played Frodo. But I can't.
Oh, I've seen that one many times.
And there's
Does a French man speak like a? Is he
that
a
one?
man?
That one. That one. And anyway, they picked up.
Then why don't he speak like a man?
Is a man a man?
Is a man a man? Is a French man a man? Then why don't he speak like a man? I love that movie.
Well, the part where they pick up those two rapscallion con men that are, well, actually, they get picked up by them two old men. And they're sitting there making up their own hand signs because they don't know really how to, he's just making them up as he goes. That was.
I think that was Huckleberry Finn.
Well, maybe it was Huckleberry Finn. I'm sorry. It was. You're right. It was Huckleberry Finn.
I think.
Not Tom Sawyer. I said Tom Sawyer, didn't I?
No, same guy, different name.
Different, yeah, same, right. Close enough. Anyway, that was just funny. Now I'm missing people here. I also hear them talking about Danny from being Danny. That's Tina. I saw an interesting thing probably last weekend.
You can't walk on your lap, Ian.
We were watching I don't know what, I think it's called Super Dogs or something, but it's a jumping dog competition, where they leap out over the water and grab the baton. Well, there was a tripod in there, Tina, and he was running and jumping just about as far as the rest of them could. And that lack of was not slowing him down, not one bit. He had lost his leg, and he didn't have. They say he had some kind of foot infection that caused it, so it sounded kind of like your problem or Danny's problem. But they had to remove most of his leg, and the only funny thing about it was, and they were talking. His owner was talking about this, was that because of that leg, when he goes out there after the jumps, he wiggles a lot because it's got his body a little bit off center when he jumps, so he does a lot of body wiggle, but he was a jumper now. He didn't slow down not one bit. I didn't realize that dogs were that capable probably until the last 10 or 15 years and actually realized that they get along pretty good without a leg.
My best dog I have ever owned, her daddy got hit by a car, lost his, I think, right rear leg, and it made him after that when he urinated, because he was a full male dog. After that, he did a handstand.
Oh, I've seen dogs do that.
And
well, Danny lost the front leg.
He would mark his territory like on a handstand, and that dog was so fast and so capable. Even after that, after the leg, he just. I'm like, maybe they don't need their legs.
Maybe not. Maybe that's an evolutionary thing. Someday dogs will just.
It was amazing, and I've seen so many over my career. I saw so many three-legged wolves and three-legged coyotes and three-legged foxes that I'm pretty convinced that canids can handle that with no problem. And some human beings.
And some human beings. We're dependent.
Some human beings have lost both their legs and they're running again.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
Tina, that might be an advantage. The dog in this particular competition, and I can't remember if it was a shepherd or what, had lost a rear leg, which means he was launching and jumping. Most of the power was going through one leg. Danny's situation, by losing a front leg, might actually streamline the dog more when he jumps. He's got, I can't remember, Danny
lost a rear leg.
Male. I forget and I apologize. I know the answer to that question, but I can't remember. But once they launch, they'd be more streamlined up front. They might go further. I'm not trying to make fun either. I'm serious.
No, I'm not, and neither am I. I just think they're amazing.
It's the problem that Danny lost it. No, Danny has lost his left rear leg. I'm sorry. Well, where did I read front? If it's a front leg and he runs straight. Okay. No. Yeah, the dog I was watching had also lost a rear leg, and it was, I mean, man, it was a jumper.
You can't even tell anymore.
No, most of the time not.
My dog Pip's daddy was just as fast as he ever had been, because I hunted with him for a few years, and he could charge forward just as hard as he ever did.
Now, Pip was the bird dog you had that you really
liked. It was an English pointer, and her daddy, who was a black and white, she was liver and white, he was black and white, and I never saw him lose a step. He was still just as quick and hard charging as he had ever been.
Ian?
Ian doesn't try to make any fun.
But making fun, making mistakes, making errors, that's the kind of thing I do best. I don't make a lot of things that turn out the way I want to. So if I don't laugh about them, which would be kind of making fun, then I'd be in trouble probably. But that's not everybody's case. I mean, can't say that's what everybody does. And I don't make fun of other people. I'm not that kind of person, but I mean,
never have been.
I'm talking about three-legged dog here out of respect. It's amazing to me, and I just never. I don't know. I miss that somehow through life. I mean, I'm like you. I've seen them and seen things, but I tended to look at it through a human's eyes and think, well, that's a debilitating injury. And it's not.
And it's not.
It's just not.
I have a veteran buddy that doesn't have either one, and I haven't seen him slow down much.
No, that's good. I think over totality of the thing, I think dogs and cats seem to handle it a lot better than humans as a rule, and we should probably learn a lesson there. The vets told Tina saying that the vets told us that dogs carry 2 to 2/3 of their weight in their front legs. Danny only has problems with stairs. Well, going upstairs, gravity works, so he goes down them just fine. That's funnier than you think.
Don't walk on your left, Tina.
Do what? What'd you say?
That might be funny all day long.
It might be. And I'm not making fun of Danny now. Don't laugh.
I'm not making fun of Danny either.
That is funny.
Good morning. Good morning, Sir John.
Sir John, the surf bum, has joined us. Is Brenda here? I don't know if Brenda.
It's always good when the Sir John joins.
Yeah, Frontier Day started yesterday, John. You wouldn't happen to be out there, I don't suppose.
Don't get me started.
What's the matter?
Nothing's the matter.
Oh, okay.
I just didn't watch it last
I
night.
forgot to too. I can see it though now, and I'll watch it later today. I still have one episode of Calgary to finish up the day 10.
I need to watch that one too.
There was some good road. The best. I don't remember Cheyenne does this. I know a lot of the other smaller rodeos and events like Calgary and Cheyenne do some really cool things, like chuck wagon races or Indian races, or is that what they call it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but they also do something at Calgary.
Those are like nuts, man.
They are.
Those guys and gals can ride so well, it's like scary.
Yeah. Well, at Calgary, they also do a thing called Wild Pony.
Oh yeah, we at Frontier Days we did.
You're young.
What they even call it? Wild horse. I don't remember, but it was. That's nuts.
Well, they had 3 kids of various sizes. And they had 2 or 3 all-girl teams that came. They were real. All-girl teams were big. They always, made sure everybody knew. But then there was, and they ranged from probably Eileen's size, maybe, down to about your 2 youngins, the boys' sizes.
Oh my God. Doing wild pony deals, weren't they?
Yes. And they had the pony comes out and it's a miniature pony on top of that. But man, oh man, could they move?
And bucks like the worst.
Hey, the idea was, you know this, I'm explaining it to our guests here. The idea was one of them's a mugger, one of them is the anchor, and one of them's supposed to get on the pony. Well, the mugger is supposed to grab the rope. Well, they all have a hold of the rope before they open the chute. The mugger is supposed to get up there if he can and wrap his arm around the neck of the horse or cover its eyes or hold its head. Somehow try to hold it somewhat still. Then the anchor is supposed to never let go of the rope, basically, and it's supposed to dig into his heels into the dirt and hold back. And the middle person is supposed to get on the pony and ride it for at least 2 jumps, although I've learned that if they get on it and go anywhere, they usually count it. But there was these 3 little boys. I think they were boys. One of them might have been a girl, actually. And I think they were a family. If not, they were good buddies. But they were all about, 2 feet tall. They were little guys, 3 feet maybe. And they didn't even try to mug or grab. All they did was grab the rope. And as soon as the gate opened, all 3 of them poof, hit the ground on their bellies and just let the horse drag them out through the mud. They didn't even try to get on the pony. They just wanted to go for the ride, the rope ride.
My buddy was in one of the Cheyenne wild horse races, and they wanted him to ride, and he talked himself out of being the rider because he thought he'd get very badly injured. So they had a 3-man team, and
Okay, John, I'll look for that right now.
And they got their horse, and he became a mugger instead of the rider.
Yeah.
And the 2 muggers, they didn't have any clothes on basically after the deal was over, because the horse was pawing and ripping their shirts and
oh my.
and the rider just hopped up on the back of the horse and rode it around the arena and never got injured at all. And the 2 guys that were we don't want to be the rider guy. They should have been the rider guy.
So he didn't pick well, is what that amounts to.
He chose poorly.
He chose poorly. Yeah, that's it. Okay, John. Where did you send it to? And I've lost the whole everybody. No, there you are.
What are we doing?
John said he sent me something about Frontier Days, and I don't know where he sent it. Email, text, in here. Where'd you send it?
Well, I missed the start. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, I'll watch it today.
My Wyoming driver's license should be revoked.
That's right. He texted it to me.
But I was riding my horse when it started, so.
Well, tell them folks about what happened to you. Didn't you say you got a hole poked in your leg?
I got a chunk took out of my left calf by my horse leaving the front yard yesterday out the out gate.
Out the out gate.
She was feeling a little sporty yesterday, and then I rode 10 miles, and it didn't take very long.
Can you see that?
And my daughter said, "Well, you weren't gone very long,"
and you
something like that. Kind of
smart alecky.
Kind of pissed me off a little bit. Pardon.
There's what John just sent me. Looks like his ticket or parking pass when he was at Cheyenne Frontier Days, perhaps.
There you go. But I
thank you, John.
I rode down to my my old home country, down about 5 miles down the highway, and my pony was being a little sporty yesterday, because I haven't been riding her enough, so she was feeling a little froggy. We were covering a lot of ground quick.
I guess the wind don't much spook them much since they live in it all the time.
We got in a couple big old fights. And
oh, did you? Well, after that, well, you probably hadn't rode her. Well, no, did you ride her around?
I've been working on the filly, and she may very well be the best horse I've ever owned, but we'll see. So cool. She might, and like I tell my wife, she might kick me in the head tomorrow and kill me, but right now, she's so responsive and so quick to learn. She's taller than my war horse, so I don't like that part, but anyway.
How is she?
Pardon?
You say she's taller?
Yeah, she's about a hand taller than Honeycomb.
How does that rank with Bobby Socks? Are they Honeycomb and Bobby Socks are about the same size?
Bobby might actually be a little shorter than Honeycomb.
So she got some
but her foal, her baby is taller, quite a bit taller than she is. And so,
Mike, I can't believe you've not been around lately, and you show up and you're eating cinnamon buns at home.
And didn't send us any.
You didn't send us even a smell.
I don't have a cinnamon bun.
I don't have me either. Carol said something too, and I was trying to figure out what she said. We need to. She said, may we need a minute length by area chart. So we might have to work on that, Carol. We may have to figure out how that works and draw that out. I'm sure we can come up with something. And
so John says that they volunteered to work at the rodeo grounds during Frontier Days, so that was cool. My wife did a lot of that. She worked paid and volunteer positions there. So
did you get a chance to actually see much rodeo, John, or were you always in the parking lot? I'm asking that as because I know people have done that kind of stuff, and sometimes they get
and they never even get to see any
sometimes they don't. Wait a minute, say what?
Well, they volunteer to help.
Yeah.
And never get to see a performance.
Oh, okay.
Which is BS.
Well, that's what I was wondering, because no, he said he got to see everything for free, so they did. Now he was military, so that might have helped a little bit. Let me tell you a story that I did. I know what I mean about parking. probably 25 years ago almost. The state of Tennessee, Kentucky, and U.S. Fish and Wildlife, I guess, were relocating elk back into this country.
Which has been amazingly successful, by the way.
In some places, very successful, yes. But they brought them to a part of Tennessee up on the plateau, which was where there was still a lot of national forests and state forests and TWRA forest lands. And so one day, they've already done this in Kentucky. They'd already done it in Kentucky, and they're going to do it in Tennessee, and it's going to be a really big deal because they're opening it up in a whole brand new Tennessee wildlife management area that had been bought and donated and given to the state for that purpose or for wildlife management. It's a really good deal for the state for wildlife. And so they call up my buddy Steve Cottrell, who is going to be on the show here real soon. So everybody hang on to your hats. Anyway, so he gets me. He says, Timmy, let's go. We got to go up on the mountain, buddy. We've been requested to come help do the elk release. And so we're excited, We think we're really going to get something. Cottrell's all, he's all puffed up.
I'm gonna be like turning him. I'm gonna grab that bull by the antlers and turn him loose.
And then turn him loose. And Steve's all puffed up. He tells it better than I do. I mean, he's he's like, wow, that's real wildlife stuff. We're gonna go out and release wild elk into the mountains again. So the day comes to do it, and I meet him at the office early, and we jump in a Jeep and we take off up into the mountains. There west of where we worked, climb up the rim and all that, and get up on the mountains there in the plateau. If you've never seen the Tennessee plateau and how it's laid out, you'd understand. I mean, it's literally like that. If it didn't have trees and bushes on it, it'd look like Mark's country. But anyway, so we go up there and we're all excited. We're ready. We got our boots on. We're going to go down there and we're going to work elk. We're going to be out there, get our picture took probably, and be on the news. And we're going to be
collar on an elk neck.
Yeah, might put a collar on, and there we are with TVA, on our shirts, and we're by God doing real stuff. And so we get up there and we meet the guys, and we're all standing there sipping coffee. Well, it started snowing on the way up there, and I mean it snowed hard and deep for around here, and it was better than ankle deep in just no time. And they had all these hundreds of people that were coming to this event, and so they got us. He said, "Hey boys, glad you made it. Look here, we got a special job for you." And Steve said he got a little bit prouder, and then they said, "We'd like for you to park cars today. You think you guys can handle that? Because we got a real situation here about where we're putting everybody." And we're like, "Park cars?" And Steve said it just kind of all the wind just came
Carol,
out.
I don't know what you're going to be in charge of all hat holding. on behalf of the hatless.
In charge of all hand holding.
I don't have any hair, so my head's cold.
So we had to park cars up on the side of this mountain in these two little openings that were there for probably and if you could see them, and now they're probably little wildlife openings. And it was snowing, so cars were getting stuck, and we were having to push cars into and that was our job. By the time we got over to the thing, we almost missed the release altogether. We got there just in time to see them run.
Hang on, who was Ellie Mae?
Who was Ellie Mae? Oh, that's their dog. Did they lose Ellie? One of their basset hounds.
Oh shoot! I'm sorry, dude.
Well, I know she wasn't doing well.
I'm sorry, dude.
Yes, Ellie Mae is. I'm sorry.
They should live like 5 times longer than we do.
Yeah, they should.
They don't.
Sorry to hear that, guys. I knew she wasn't doing well, and I forgot about that. So I apologize for any irreverence there. And I say that sincerely. I've lost too many pets, dogs, and cats in my life, and I don't. If people don't, if somebody don't cry about their pets when they die, then there's something wrong with them.
I feel sorry for people that haven't lost
And don't feel
a
it.
dog,
Yeah.
and
But
I feel sorry for people that don't cry when Old Yeller died.
Ian, I know exactly what you mean. I feel the same way, buddy. There's a lot of humans I don't much care one way or the other about. Not that may sound
My
terrible.
I even get teary eyed over losing a chicken, not not just a dog, but a
I
chicken.
get that. Well, it
And
probably
they
broke
don't
your
and they
daughter's
don't
heart
live.
too.
They only live 3 or 4 years, 5 years maybe at max.
You didn't
And
think
we
you'd get
and
that
and we
attached.
lost three in like the last 3 days.
Oh no.
They're all the same age, so that's just what happens. But
Well, you got
plus, we got the coon.
the coon. Is the coon been getting into them?
Did you see Caitlin's post?
No, I missed it. Oh
Oh
look.
yeah, oh yeah. Caitlin took pictures of the coons,
Oh no.
and
Let me
not and
look. Let me
it's not
look.
just the coon; it's the coons out in the tree in the front yard,
Oh.
and she placed a chicken in the bed of my pickup truck for me to deal with today,
Uh-huh.
and it ain't there no more.
Coons already took care of it, you reckon?
the coon, and I guess I'm okay with that.
Wow. I'm
In a
sorry.
sick kind of way.
Was about to fall asleep early this morning. I heard a racket in the yard. Turns out we had three, not two, not one, but three coons moseying around outside.
She got some great video, dude.
I'm looking at it right now. I don't know if I can.
And she's talking to it like, "Hi, little guy. Hi." I would have shot him in the face with a 22 rifle.
Well, yeah, she evidently didn't tell you or didn't get you up.
She did not wake me up to tell me that there was the coon.
Well, there's the video. Let me back it up.
There's way better video than that. She was hearing a weird noise outside, which I didn't. I would have known what it was.
So I didn't pick the best one. Cartman to save the day.
There's three of them right there. You can see their eyes.
Oh, I see eyeballs right there. Speaking of right there, I made my pointer.
But she got some video of the actual coon up in the tree that was clear.
So you think you got a big mama coon and a couple offspring?
We got a big old mama and a big old daddy and a big old.
There's a third one.
Several coons.
Oh my goodness! Where you reckon they're living in the barn?
Yeah, they're wherever. Here, this will be the good one. Maybe. There it is.
Oh, there he sits on the limb of that tree.
There he is, the little devil.
Watch him come over to talk.
Oh, hi. And she just talking to him like, hi, little guy. Hi, little guy. He'd have been dead if I'd have been out there.
Reckon he's been eating any eggs or chickens yet that you know of?
Well, he ate chicken out of the bed of my pickup truck last night.
Oh, well, that one, yeah. Well, that may be a start of something to come.
Trash pandas.
Yeah. I'm going to call that for somebody else.
Ian.
Anyway, that's some of the exciting goings on out in Wyoming right now, folks. This is real life stuff. You can't get this just anywhere.
You don't get this kind of feed from just anybody.
Live coon coverage in the front yard is not something everybody else covers.
Little devils.
Little devils, they are indeed. They are special.
Well, I think I told you my brother-in-law was up here, and he and my son they hit a cow in their vehicle, and I had to go get them because they crushed their rent car. They were going to a funeral. They had rented a car, and they hit a black cow in the middle of the highway.
Oh no!
In the dark, and you can't see black cows in the dark, and it stopped them dead. And I went and picked them up, brought them back to the house here, and I was telling my brother-in-law that my wife had just seen 2 river otters in the river, which runs through our property, and the driveway kind of drives along the river. And I said, Shauna just saw 2 river otters there like a couple days ago.
Hey, there's one from Texas, Hitchhiking Bone. She said Trash Pandas are her favorite team in the minor leagues. I didn't know there was a Trash Pandas. Where are they at, Don? Welcome in, by the way.
And I took Danny, my brother-in-law, my ex-brother-in-law, as he calls himself, back to town a little bit later. And we're driving down that driveway along the river, and he goes, "There's the otter." And it was a big old, like 30-pound coon walking down the riverbank. And I'm like this, and he lives in Texas, and I'm like, so is that what you guys call otters in Texas? Because that's a big coon. So we have a lot of coons, but anyway.
Rocket City Trash Pandas. Oh, Huntsville, Alabama. Now I should have known
Rocket City
that.
Trash Pandas.
Oh, that's a good name. That really is. There's a gal on the internet does YouTube.
Who are they? Are they a farm team for somebody?
Yeah, they're a minor league team for somebody. There's a gal that does like science kind of videos on YouTube. Her name's Zyla Foxland, and she's got her mascot or her thing, and she's got stickers she puts on all kinds of things of Trash Pandas. They're a farm team for the Angels.
For the Angels. I'm sorry.
Says a Red Sox.
I apologize.
or at least you've become a Red Sox fan, I guess.
We have a farm team for the Angels, I think, in Salt Lake.
Oh, really? Well, there could be. There can be more than one.
The Salt Lake City Bees.
The Bees.
They do good.
A thing about bees down there.
It's good ball games.
Yeah, you guys go down there and watch a game once in a while, don't you?
And nobody has to roll across the yard or nothing.
Uh-oh, look what Tina said.
You missed that entirely.
What did I miss?
I said nobody has to roll down the yard or nothing when we go to those games.
Well, Mark's wife is a Red Sox fan, Tina. I guess you consider yourself one.
My wife is a Red Sox fan. So that's who we watch.
So that's who they watch.
Or if I'm feeling particularly salty, we watch the Astros.
Oh, that's right. You root for the Astros, which I kind of do too.
Now people don't like me because I like the Sox.
Well, sorry guys, come on.
If they're playing the damn Yankees, I'm
Well,
rooting
hell,
for
I
Sox.
root for anybody that's playing the Yankees. That's how it worked at my house. I've told that story before. My family, I grew up in a baseball family. My
There we go.
played,
Ian said better than the Yankees or the Dodgers. I agree.
I agree.
1,000%.
I grew up in a house where my father played baseball and played softball till he was in his probably 70s. But he actually played what they used to call semi-pro baseball here locally in Greenville.
And
And so
you
I
were
grew up
like
with baseball.
you were a Atlanta fan, weren't you?
Yeah, so they were. I grew up. They became Atlanta fans. I guess when Atlanta moved from the Braves moved from Milwaukee to Atlanta. So I grew up with Braves. I mean, I just knew the Braves from when they were really sucky till they got sort of good, and then really sucky, and then they got real good for a while, and then they're kind of back middle ground. But so I've always been a Braves fan, baseball fan, but around my house they always watched or listened because back then they weren't all on TV. World Series every year. I mean, didn't matter who it was. We usually listened to it on the radio or saw it. If it was on TV, we watched it. But most time it was on the radio. And the rule at our house was we pull. Let's see, how'd that work? My mom always rooted for the Yankees if they were playing, and my dad rooted for anybody that wasn't the Yankees. Period. It didn't matter who it was. That's who he rooted for when they were playing the Yankees. Period. So I kind of grew up as a non-Yankees fan because of that. So since Tennessee has no pro baseball team, we always back the Braves. Yeah, well, that's kind of how. Yeah, that's probably how it was too. I mean, and then when Chicago started being on TV a lot, because somebody one of the Chicago station, I can't remember the designation, was kind of like TBS used to be, where they had the Braves all the time. Well, the Chicago station started carrying the Cubs, and so they got to be Cubby fans too because they could see them on TV a lot. That was a key to some of that because they could, and that's probably why they were Braves fans originally because they could go to a game. They weren't so far away that they couldn't go to a game. And after I grew up and my brother left home, they went to games all the time, which they did. Yeah, WGN. Thank you, Ian. But for some reason, they didn't go when we were growing up much. We only went twice, I remember. So I think we missed out on something there. But anyway, they were big baseball fans, and it was anybody but the Yankees kind of thing, unless it was mom. Poor mom was by herself on that one, and I don't know why. It's a funny thing about baseball, though. If you grew up in East Tennessee talking baseball, there were a lot of Yankee fans there or here. I don't know why. Well, we did have a Yankees farm team in Johnson City for a long time. And I got to see them play some. We'd go to games there. And there was a kid that came up out of the whatever farm league was below. I think we were just single A ball. And he was wearing Mickey Mantle's number 7. And he got up and he hit 4 home runs in one game. Every time he got up to bat that game, he hit a home run. And the Yankees moved him up to the big leagues, but I don't think he lasted. I don't think he was quite ready, but he was quite the batter. And I just spilled coffee on my new shirt.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you.
Good thing it's kind of coffee colored. Good thing it's sort of coffee colored to begin with, huh?
So my son was he was a fan of certain players, and they all played for the Red Sox.
Mm.
Who was that little shortstop they had? God dang it, I can't think of his name right now.
I know, but I can't.
I'm not going to either. But anyway, he was a fan of the Red Sox because of players.
Yeah.
And so that's who we became fans of.
Well, that works. I mean,
it's like Jose Altuve that plays for the Astros. Little bitty tiny,
right.
foreign I don't know if he's from Venezuela or where he's from. Maybe.
Can't remember.
Anyway, he's so good. and we love watching those guys play baseball.
Garcia
And
Omar.
And we don't like, although he's growing on me, the big guy from the Yankees.
Oh, so Tina grew up with a Red Sox fan. Her dad and her mom was a Phillies fan.
Nobody was a Yankees fan. Yeah, you don't.
Nobody should be a Yankees
You
fan.
can't be a Yankee fan. You just can't be. It's hard.
It used to be bad because everybody, what? I guess
I
he
still
does.
remember when I don't remember watching the movie about Babe Ruth that John Goodman was in, and he got traded from the Sox to the Yankees.
To the Yankees, yeah, that was the curse, or that's when the
curse. And he had that farm, and the guy that was like managing his farm, and the guy was like, "You damn Yankee."
I got to look that up, Ian, or you're welcome to. If you got time, you may not be able to. I can't remember. Are you saying Nomar Garciaparra? Is that in one name or two names? I apologize for my ignorance up front.
Oh, who's the damn?
Because I don't remember if that's who it was. I go most of the players I remember a lot. I have to go back a little further because I hadn't followed it as much in the last 10 years or so.
He was a Anglo guy from the U.S. Had a normal.
That was the shortstop you're talking about.
The shortstop.
Yeah, I know. No, it's not. No, Pee Wee was with the Yankees, right?
God dang it! It wasn't that long ago. With the Red Sox, not with the Yankees.
Okay, there's a Trevor Story. That's not him, I don't think. That's the current.
Maybe he played second base.
Okay, here's one. Boston. Nomar Garciaparra was number 5, and he played from. That could be him, actually.
Yeah, it would have been after that, Ian.
And then there's Glenn.
I thought we were talking about the CCC today.
We are. We just ain't got there yet. I better get started. I pulled it up while you were talking a minute ago.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
No, I need to do that. I've already got it up on this screen. I was thinking the same thing just a minute ago. It was just I was having fun talking about other stuff. So today we are going to talk about the Civilian Conservation Corp, and I got started on this week because Bill, like I said, he had been to and is going to one of the state parks, and next week I believe he's going to Pickett State Park. Oh, I bet that's named after another Confederate.
Oh, I bet they have to change that name now.
Well, they never have. It might be somebody else.
I bet they're going to have to change the name.
Anyway, they're going there to stay in some cabins that were originally built by the CCC back in the 30s. And there's a lot of state parks in Tennessee, and I guess most of the states in the Union have some state park or some facility that the Conservation Corps worked on or built, and usually you can tell because there'll be all this beautiful stonework that's lasted through the decades so far. Sometimes there's some really nice cabins. Sometimes there's really nice cabins that are kind of worn out by now, but still there's all these things that the CCC did that made an impact. So let me get that pulled up and share the screen with you folks, and we'll talk about that a little bit. And I'll try not to make this boring as witch's brew or something.
It ain't boring.
I lost my. Once again, I've blocked. There it is. Okay, I've got my page. I got another page over here to look at where I can read notes. Okay. Anyway, this is I don't know. I've always really like the whole concept of the CCC and what they did. Like I said, I've been around their handiwork most of my life because we go to parks around here, national parks, Blue Ridge Parkway, go over to North Carolina, Mount Mitchell, just all these different places that the CCC and the WPA had effect to. They worked on, they built them, they created the infrastructure, they built the walls, the roads, sometimes the buildings that are still there, and
dams,
and dams, and many. Well, they helped build in my particular
they
case.
built Lake Mead, dude. They built all the
Yeah,
big dams out here.
Well, they were there helping.
A bunch of punk kids built all these giant dams and things.
Which is, and I'll get to that in just a minute, but that's true. The people that worked there, a lot of them were punk kids from places like New York City.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that because they were all people. Let me read that in just a minute. Don't step on my line there. I'll read why that was the case. Anyway, please hit the like button if you don't mind, or I'm not going to beg. Hit the dislike button. Just hit one of them, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I appreciate that, and leave a comment. And I've said this before, but apparently, if you do those things and leave a comment of at least 8 words, it kicks it into some kind of algorithm, and who knows, maybe somebody else some lost soul out there will find it and wander in and learn something about raccoons in the chicken house next week.
And it's just the right thing to do.
And it's just the right thing to do. That's right. That's right. Thank you. That's true. It's just the right thing to do.
Since I've been referred to twice in my life as that old guy off of it's just the right thing to do.
You've been referred to as that old guy where?
From like the Red Fern Grove.
Oh, okay. Well, who knows? You might become a movie star out of this.
That guy that looks like that other guy.
Okay, but I also got to do my history thing a little bit because that's what I do. On this day, July 19th, in 1969, the first lunar orbit of Apollo 11 occurred. Astronauts Armstrong, Aldrin, and Collins entered and achieved orbit around Earth's moon. And then, of course, the moon landings happened right after that, unless you think they were in Arizona. But they still landed. In 1848.
My mommy and I watched that.
I did too.
But we watched it. Dad was in. He was over doing his second semester at the University of Southeast Asia. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna finish that out.
He was over there. We watched it together on a TV screen that was probably about that big.
Probably black and white.
And it was, I'll guarantee it was black and white. We didn't have color we didn't get color till like the 80s. But
well, I can remember going to your house. This is no joke. In the late 70s, sitting in your mom and dad's living room off of the road there. I can't think of the name of it. Antioch. No, not Antioch.
Mount Zion.
Mount Zion Church Road or whatever it was. Sitting there in your living room in 1978, 79 and watching MASH on black and white TV about that big. That's no joke.
In a piece of furniture that was like 6 feet long.
Well, that's yeah. Well, that was if you got up to that, black and white. That's fancy.
The screen wasn't the deal. It was the furniture.
The rest of it. It was the furniture itself.
Sorry.
1848, the Seneca, what was known as the Seneca Falls Convention occurred. And that was a pioneering women's rights convention. That was one of the first, maybe the first ever official women's rights building or convention that happened where they were starting to discuss even then. What are you laughing about?
Quackers.
What am I missing? Second School of Hard Knocks.
Go down the left side of the. I assume you meant Quakers,
What did I put?
Quackers.
Quackers. Oh no! Damn it, Brenda, that's why I need an editor.
That's funny all day long.
Not the Quackers, the Quakers. Excuse me.
And you used it again. Later.
Well, I'd say that's probably spell correct. Did that help me with that? Maybe. Or my fingers may have just typed.
Yeah. Okay, my ribs hurt now.
Well, anyway, that's when that happened.
Properly later on.
Quackers. I'm sorry. I apologize if there's any Quakers in the room.
Oh,
and in 1545, this is kind of thing because Mark and I've actually talked about this before. And 15
Mary Rose.
From a different angle, but in 1545, on this day, King Henry's the 8th flagship, the Mary Rose, was sunk. I spelled that wrong. I spelled Amry. What the heck? Man, I did need to proof this.
And it was full of bows.
Well, that's why you and I talked about it, because when they found what was left of the wreckage, it was just full of all kinds of amazing artifacts from that period, including thousands of arrows ready to be shot or fletched and finished at their French foe. And I think it was French. Maybe they were fighting the Spanish then. But anyway, whoever they were warring with, which is always somebody. And there were a lot of bows on there and arrows on there and all kinds of neat stuff like that. And it was almost like the ship went under, and then one half of the ship was cut away. If you see where they raised that boat now. I think in the 80s they found it, or late 70s, and they raised what was left. And it's on display, and it's like a cutaway of a ship. It's really kind of cool.
Yeah.
But they found a lot of neat stuff in that. So that's why I put that in there. We've talked about it. They had
beautiful bows.
Yeah, bows, swords, and knives, and cannons, and carvings.
Those like 100-pound war bows.
Yeah, those. They look round to me.
They're beautiful.
Yeah. And that boat was called a carrack, which was a Portuguese name, apparently. It's 3 or 4 masted ocean-going sailing ship. And obviously, they said it was his flagship, but it sounded to me like it was more of a carrying the supplies and things for the army at that time. So it was, I guess, a carrack or carrack or carrack.
Or the Amory. They were carrying supplies for the army or the Amory.
Or the Amory. That's right. New word. You learned it here first, guys. Anyway.
I'm being a bit of a pain in the butt today.
So what we were going to talk about today is the CCC. The Great Depression hit in 1929, and 33, President Roosevelt was elected, and one of the things he started as part of his New Deal, 2 of the things he started that I can talk about of his New Deal was, 1, the Civilian Conservation Corp, which was designed to put a lot of men back to work, and it did. But it wasn't just to get them back to work. It was also to train them and educate them and do things that they weren't getting done that helped them in the future after that, which turned out to be a big deal when we went to World War II. And when they came back, there was a lot of ex-CCC workers that came back from the war ready to hit the road running and do more things. So it kind of worked out that way. And I'm going to go through the requirements of what it took to join the CCC at that time. And these are just some of the posters and things they had put out at that period to help recruit. And, there's firefighters and guy down there that got a shovel and an axe. It looks like either a military person or maybe a game warden at that time. That's Ohio. That one was in. Looks like that says the Ohio Match Company, Wadsworth, Ohio, made that post, designed or supported that post. The neat one here is not actually one of the coolest ones in here. Is not really a poster, but is actually a pillowcase. I don't know who did this.
Which one?
The lower left-hand corner down here, it says USA, and then has all the stuff around it.
Oh, cool.
Eagle and flags. That's actually a pillowcase that was made by somebody. And I don't think this was something they issued to all the CCC workers, but who knows? But I thought that was really cool. I had to put it on there. It was just well done. Well done.
And the NRA was not the National Rifle Association.
No, it was not. It's the I think it's National Recovery Act, if I'm not mistaken. And these posters have, if you read them, they say some different things. Like this one over in the far upper left says to live, to learn, to build, and to conserve our natural resources, which was what a lot of this was. You also got to remember, this also happened at the back end, or the part of the Dust Bowl was happening. The Depression was happening. If you came to Tennessee, there was this great big giant movement in Tennessee known as the Great Flush, because all the dirt in East Tennessee was getting washed down the river into Mississippi. Because up here, and in a lot of places in Tennessee, and Kentucky, and Virginia, and a lot of these states had this problem. They didn't know how to control erosion. So all the dirt, topsoil, and silt in this part of the country was getting washed away and going down river. And it was taking a really rich and fertile area of the country that you could grow crops and things in, and it was ruined. I mean, and I got a couple of pictures that show you what it kind of looked like. And I've seen some areas that still kind of looked like that when I was growing up. So, so it was all that was a big deal. And of course, as most of you know, I spent the last 25 years or so working for TVA, which was also part of the New Deal. The Tennessee Valley Authority was created and used CCC personnel largely to build the rivers and to do all the work around the rivers and the dams and erosion control. It's unbelievable how many erosion dams and things like that they built in this state to try to get water under control in this state so it would quit that great flush.
And you were going to electrify up the whole country. Put us on a grid.
Put us on a grid is what his name said. I can't think of his name. But that's from Old Brother, Where Art Thou, if you don't know. I like this quote, so I'll put it in here. It says, the CCC, was extremely well conducted. It made out of what could have been a dreadful flop and a dreadful hazard a project that was intelligent, well behaved, and therefore is well thought of in the community. It was. That was current. We did it by getting the Army to run it, and they did. By and large, the Army did run it, but it wasn't. You weren't in the Army, but they organized it. The Forest Service directed what was done, the work, which is very important too. They had people here that knew how to organize people, get them working together, and then the Forest Service knew what the problems were, so they had experts to help them go out and actually fix problems, not just bumble about and as what did my buddy Cottrell used to say, just wander about aimlessly and that sort of thing. I think he said that. Somebody did. We kept them in order, and the Forest Service selected good projects. Although it was an expensive form of relief, it accomplished a good deal and was invaluable in the training of young men. Because that's what happened. These young men they got learned a lot. They didn't just learn how to be farmers or dig dirt and make erosion dams. They learned how to be machinists, to read, to write, to just an amazing amount of things. Okay, it was a voluntary work relief program. Was first opened to young men ages 18 to 25. And it existed between 1933 and 1942. I'm sure I'm going to say it again, but Roosevelt actually wanted to extend it, but by then we were in the middle of World War II, and Congress in America said no. They just let it go, let it drift away, and because all the money then, I guess, was going into the war, and the country was back going full blast and then some. As far as the economy was going, we were starting to grow. But you had to be, when it started, they wanted young men, ages 18 to 25, unemployed, and had been unable to find a job, which was pretty common because they got these guys from places where there weren't any jobs. And unmarried, preferably. Well, unmarried, period. At least you weren't supposed to be married. And they later extended that range from 18 to 28. In 9 years, over 3 million young men took part in this program. The CCC operated a special program for veterans, also World War I veterans here we're talking about, mostly. Approximately 15,000 Native Americans took part, which is an interesting thing. You don't hear much about that, but they actually did work primarily around the reservations and stuff. So, they took part. The largest enrollment at any one time was 300,000, and then it kind of rotated. Originally, they were only looking for people to be there like 6 months, and then you move on, hopefully find a job and start doing things. Were picking up, but a lot of them stayed longer than that. The pay was $30 a month per month, but 25 of that had to be sent automatically home to your parents, your family. You got to keep $5 a month if you worked there, and the rest of it went home to mom and dad or whoever was there. And I thought that was and these guys went for this. Millions of people signed up for this. It wasn't like, oh, well, they're just going to say, I ain't going to get it. I don't want to work there. And sure, there was plenty of that said. But a lot of young men went for this. And because of this, young women wanted to have something similar, and they did. And I'm going to talk about that on another show. I didn't want to try to mix them up. I'm not going to get through this now without taking a while. And again, I encourage you to go, if you're interested, go look this up, read about it, learn more about this part of our history, because I'll never cover enough of it to say he covered that extensively, because that's not going to happen. The first director was Robert Fechner, I believe. I may be saying that wrong, but he passed away a year and a half into the project, health issues. And the next one was James McEntee, who was an interesting fellow, looked to me like. And you'll notice they're not in uniform. Those guys were not Army. Okay, the CCC established a large number of camps across the country. So when you signed in, you met up. It was almost like joining the Army back then. It went to the train station, got on a train. They took you to BFE, and you got off the train. They put you in the back of a pickup or a giant military-type truck and took you out to a camp where you lived for 6 or 8 months unless they moved you to another camp. Initially, the program began with about 1,400 camps, almost 1,500, but it grew. That was for about 250,000 men. That's not a small project just to set that up. That was in April of 33, and by the end of the whole thing in 42, there had been over 4,500 camps, enrolled more than 3 million men. And those numbers vary depending on what you look at. There's 2 or 3 really good archive resources for this information, but even they have some variation in some of the numbers. So, but they're all close. They're similar. They were spread all across the country. I think every state had some. As it turns out, California had the most, and I can't remember if they had. Seems to me like California itself, the state had over 1 million of workers throughout its duration. And the rest, the other couple of million or whatever, spread around the country. It was close to 1 million if it wasn't 1 million. But they had a lot of work going on out there at that time. Let's see, the early camps. The first CCC camp was Camp Roosevelt, obviously named after the president, established in 33 in George Washington National Forest, not that far from Washington, D.C. And there was a group, and I've got their information somewhere, and I'll bring it up later, that is organized especially to remember the CCC and honor men who worked in the CCC, and they've set up some home reunions at that camp. And I don't know about today, but the last one I saw that they actually did might have been in 2018, and there were still a few surviving members of CCC workers that showed up for those homecomings, which I thought was really cool. National park camps, there's approximately 841 of those, because they divided. Now, this is what they did too. Let me explain this a minute. They've got all these camps, but then they were divided up by whose property they were or where they were at, like if they were on federal land or state land or private land even, and also who they were doing the work for, like the National Park Service, U.S. Forest or U.S. Fish and Wildlife, or TVA. And TVA also had a division that was the TVA / Tennessee State Parks, or state parks, not just Tennessee, but some of them were in Tennessee. The first ones were in Tennessee, some of them. And so they were divided up like that. So national park camps are about 841. There were state park camps of 2,500 or so, and altogether about 4,500 by the time it was disbanded. But there were camps that were just national forest camps. There were state park camps, federal park camps, and there was another one. Well, I'll think of it in a minute. Camps were usually identified by a number. So if you had a relative that you wanted to look up that was in the CCC in the 30s, Depression era people. My parents were Depression kids. Their parents struggled through that and talked about it when I was growing up, like it just happened sometimes. So some of this stuff but I don't know if any of them work for CCC. I'm actually trying to look that up now and see if I can find rosters there's rosters out there for different companies and different groups. I'm trying to figure out if they've got any that show, like where they started from. How many people from Tennessee joined the CCC? How many people from New York or Wyoming or whatever? Because Wyoming, like I said, every state had some. Some states had more than others. Anyway, they were identified by their camp numbers assigned by the U.S. Army, and they had camp numbers with prefixes like NP for National Park. I'm getting ready to go over that again. And of course, since it's the military was organizing this, they divided the whole country up into what they call 9 military areas. And I'm not going to read them all, but you can kind of look at that chart and you can see, which region you might have been in, or your folks might have been in, or your family might have been in. But because you're from that state didn't mean you worked there. A lot of people joined in New York, and a lot of those boys ended up down here. And Tennessee guys might have ended up in Wyoming, or they might have ended up in California or New York. They moved people around so they could see different parts of the country and I guess it's kind of like military, or some Forest Service is still kind of like this. They want you to move to an area where you don't know everybody. So you're not, what's the word I'm looking for here? Prejudiced towards just your family or whatever. That's not the way to say that, but you get the idea. No favoritism, I guess, by the workers. Tennessee was in the 4th group. Let's see. I can't remember which one are you in down there? Well, Yellowstone Park was in the 9th, but part of it was in the 8th. Oh, Wyoming was in the 8th, except for Yellowstone. So all the Yellowstone Park camps and people weren't really affiliated with Wyoming. I don't know why that is. I guess maybe they were all in Montana or something. Or the camp, And anyway, I can't see Mark. Is he still in here? Yes, he's in here. He's quiet. So I had wondering about this, and of course, segregation had to rear up its ugly ass head during all this too. And in the first few weeks, the camps located in the northern part of the country, including Virginia, weren't integrated. They weren't segregated. But the southern white boys, the good old boy network in the South, said, and we're not doing that. So they insisted on the segregation deal. So after that, the New Deal programs were segregated. And black and white Americans rarely work together. But every once in a while, I've got pictures here that show them doing things together. But that wasn't common. They had them pretty well split up. Let's see, Bob. Oh my, it's coming a big rain here. By 1935, all the camps were segregated. Enrollment peaked in the camps, the Black American camps or African American camps, with about 500 men and 2,600 camps. But the one thing the U.S. that they demanded, the programs, that all workers, black or white, Indian, whoever, they all got paid the same. They all got the same food and housing and all that. And believe it or not, the states in the South fought that. They didn't want that. Pardon me, but I mean,
I can't even imagine that.
Anyway, that's bleep. Anyway, the federal government and the program said, no, by God, they're all going to get paid the same, period. But at the end too, just like in the military for a long time, white men held major leadership roles, and they did slowly but surely start bringing in some black leadership, but none of them ever actually ran the camps or anything. They were always subordinate. So, but it was a start, I suppose. And you can see some of the, there's a guy, running what we used to call a dumpy level, doing survey work. On the far right, you do have some administrative type people that are not white. And in the middle, you got a mix of all kinds of skin colors, according to the original tag on that photo. So I put that in there on purpose. Let me read real quick, make sure I haven't forgotten anything. Oh, I covered that. Okay. Then they also had an Indian division. I just grabbed a couple of pictures sort of at random, but I like that logo. This was an actual drawing of a shoulder patch that the CCC camps in the Indian division, some of them wore. This one was from the Sioux Nation, I believe. Indian, let's see. The CCC operated a separate division for members of federally recognized tribes, the Indian Emergency Conservation Work Division, it was called by some people, CCC-ID. Native men from reservations worked on roads, bridges, clinics, shelters, and other public works. And I'm going to ask you, Mark, in a minute, if you've seen one of these, I believe, or classified as no. And one different thing about Native Americans were they often had their families with them. They moved. They were sort of, they originally had been nomadic peoples, and I guess they kind of insisted on that. So when all their husbands moved to a different part of the state, or maybe even moved across the state line, they often took family with them. And they also had a different age range. They were like 17 to 35. Well, I've got that on there. When you think about it, at that period in time, and maybe even today in a lot of places, when the CCC came in and was hiring people in these areas, there wasn't any other work. And some of them, there still isn't any other work. They're so remote and rural. So this was a big deal for getting people back on their feet. Those pictures, you can see the one to the right is in Minnesota. The one to the left is from Michigan. That was Camp Marquette, and it was the only Indian ID camp Indian Division camp in Michigan. I got a couple of pictures of other Michigan camps, so there were a few there, and then that patch. And I had another patch, but it didn't fit, so I may pull it up here in a minute when I'm done or something. Then there was also a Veterans Conservation Corps group, because they wanted this. This was to, I'm going to say appease, that might not be the right word, but this was to help all those veterans who had marched on Washington a year or two before what they call the bonus army and the bonus army marches, because this was one way to get some of those guys back to work. Congress never had let go of that bonus money. They were insisting that those guys had to wait till a certain time period, because that's when they told them they'd give it to them. Seems like it was 1945, would have been 1945. So this was a way to work around that a little bit. And so they created this group. These were mostly veterans that were in these groups. And I've got that down there a little bit. The second bonus Army March on Washington, well, it was before 33. So that's why they included this group. Qualifications, of course, differed from the other junior enrollees. They need to be certified as veterans through the VA to prove that they were vets. And they could be any age. They could be married or single, as long as they were in need of work, which was pretty much the common theme here. They could be of any. I said that veterans were generally assigned to entire veteran camps. In other words, they weren't mixed in with all the other CCC guys and whatnot. Enrollees were eligible for the following rated positions. Again, this is kind of along with their military standing. Administration, there were senior leaders. There'd be like a mess steward running the mess hall, and there'd be 2 assigned cooks. Storekeepers was a position. And then there were assistant leaders, company clerks, assistant educational advisor might be a position in these camps, and like 3 second level or lower ranked cooks. And these men received additional pay ranging from $36 to $45 a month, depending on their rank and rating. So this was all to try to work with those bonus Army folks that were still waiting on their money after they served in World War I and the Spanish-American War. Okay, here is a national.
I was at the Somme, and you made me a mess steward.
What now?
I'm just thinking of some of those guys. Like, I charged Bella Wood.
Oh yeah,
and then you made me a mess steward. Thanks. Good golly, thanks.
But it also could have been they got cooks from the Army to do those jobs, and the Bella Wood guys might have been digging ditches or something too. You never know. Yeah, which is probably what they did when they were over in France. They dug in and then they attacked. Most guys back then in the Army or the Marines or any of those land-based infantry groups, one of the things they carried with them was a shovel, and they used it a lot.
But it was a little one.
But it was a little, which made it even harder.
It was like this big.
I've used one. They're not easy.
My grandfather always said, you can kill a man with one of those.
Oh, well, that's true. Maybe a better weapon than a digging tool.
Okay, Grandpa.
Was he a World War I vet? I can't remember.
2.
He was okay. So anyway, this map shows the lower 48 states, and if you could read it, it shows how many camps were in each state and maybe the number of people. And I could not find I couldn't find a really good map to do this. So I apologize. This was a map that was actually in the archives for this very purpose. But I'm sure when they made it originally, it was a lot better. But when you consider when it was printed or typed or whatever, this is the best copy, I guess, left. But if you blow it up any more than this, it just gets all pixelated, and you can see the paper weave in it or whatever, but you can't read it. So this is the best I got. Here's some that, and according to the CCC Heritage Facebook page, which I found after I'd looked at all this other stuff, I found to be fairly good. It was good. It had a lot of good information in it. So here's what they list as some of the most significant accomplishments of the CCC. They built 800 state parks. They built 46,854 bridges, 13,000 miles of foot trails, 4,622 fish rearing ponds, 5 of which were on Norris Reservoir, which I worked on. 972 million fish were stocked from this. This was a big deal because a lot of rivers and streams had been fished out. And remember all that dirt I was talking about before going downstream? It had ruined streams all the way down to the Mississippi, at least as far as fisheries was concerned. So a lot of that was having to be fixed. They put in 1,865 drinking fountains, 27,191 miles of fence, 204 lodges and museums. And if I'm not mistaken, Mark, did the CCC build the Yellowstone lodges?
I think so.
I think they did, and I know they worked at the Grand Canyon and built those facilities. And of course, they were here in the Smoky Mountains and built all kinds of stuff. And anyway, so then after that, they built 3,470 fire towers. Now that's a big deal too, because wildfires were a big problem back.
Remember those?
I do remember those. I can show you a few of them.
I don't see them anymore. But
well, they're still standing around.
We have them like everywhere out here.
Yeah, they've closed a lot of them down.
Well, they're down.
Well, and down. Yeah, around here they still stand in a lot of places, but nobody's in them, and they've knocked down. So I know one.
Nobody's living in them like year round. Like
no, not like they did. Now there's some people on, and I know at least one young lady and her dogs that she posts a lot on Facebook. She is working a fire tower, but I can't remember which state. She's in either Oregon or Washington. She's still manning a fire tower.
Really?
Yeah, and there's other people that are in their like Facebook group that are doing so. They're not there year round, but they're there all through the springs.
Well, during the wildfire season. During the fire season.
Yeah, during the fire season. And it's really interesting because she does a lot of videos where they're bringing in food. They helicopter in a lot of her supplies. She's on the tippy top of a mountain. I can't remember which one. And they actually bring in firewood for her. They carry water to that place because there's no water. So they bring 2 or 3 water jugs a week. And then they also bring in her food supply every couple of weeks. So it's not always brought in by chopper, but most of the time that's how it gets there. I think they can get there with pack train.
Wasn't there a movie called The Fire, the Cook, and the Hole in the Sky that Sam Elliott was in? That was about U.S. Forest Service folks and he was a packer.
Yeah.
He had a pack string. And he hauled stuff into those fire towers, but in Montana.
I'll have to look for that.
The Fire, the Cook, and the Hole in the Sky. I think that's the name of it. But
so The Fire, the Cook, and the Hole in the Sky?
Yeah, I think that was the name of it.
That will be researched. If anybody else wants
to,
please do. Anyway, so I'm still 8,000.
The guy that wrote the what was the fly fishing movie?
Oh, The River Runs Through It?
Yeah.
Runs Through It.
That guy wrote that same story.
Oh, okay.
And he was the guy. He was one of the workers.
I got to check that out. I've never even heard of that. I'll have to look that up. I like Sam Elliott movies.
It's a good movie.
They built 8,065 wells and pump houses. I'm not sure. There's some parts of the country that never did get that kind of water, like Indian reses, but they are starting to now finally. But they did a lot of that stuff in state parks, and federal parks, and places like, back here we had a lot of creeks, but a lot of wells still got used, and still are in places. We saw somebody drilling a well just the other day. They planted, the CCC is estimated to have planted it over 3 billion trees. With a B. That's a big old B. That's a lot of trees. 45 million trees.
That is a lot of trees. That is a lot of trees.
Yes, it is. They restored 3,900 historic structures. 5,000 miles of water line was put down in places. Again, they didn't specify where these were. 405,037 signs, markers, and monuments. They improved 3,642 beaches, and I assume that was on freshwater and saltwater ocean areas. 20 million acres of eroded land was protected by going in and doing the right things. everything from contour plowing to planting trees to putting in check dams and stopping erosion. That was a lot of what they did in this part of the country. A lot of the work they did around TVA reservoirs had to do with removing trees in the lake bottom, and then planting trees on the mountainsides and ridges, and doing this kind of work to prevent erosion as the dam was being built. Millions of acres and thousands of lakes. Oh, they surveyed and mapped millions of acres and thousands of lakes, which I can also proudly say TVA played a huge role in that. If you look at the bottom of your topo map, it's very likely, if you've got a real one from the federal U.S., whoever issues those now, they were issued, and I can get one out of a drawer here, I'm sure. They were issued, if you look down at the bottom in the teeny tiny print, it usually says TVA on it, because TVA was a front runner in developing all the contour maps and what is the other word? Topo maps that we have in this country. To the point that when we got involved in World War II, or even before we got involved in World War II, TVA was working with the U.S. federal government as well as the British government that I know of for sure to map all of Europe as best they could.
Wow.
For the upcoming war and the things that were going on, even for Britain before we got over there. So TVA was really involved in mapping at that time. They kind of redesigned, doesn't sound like a good word, but maybe it is. They reinvented how we make maps and topo maps and stuff. Of course, now a lot of that stuff is digitized, and I've worked with people that used to sit for hours upon endless hours doing nothing but digitizing those all those maps, those contour maps, and give me the word, Mark, topo maps, and putting those online. So now when you click a button, you look at a map online. You can pull up a Google map and hit
you can pull up the Google Earth and look at the Earth.
Look at the Earth, and you can see stuff mapped, and
you can 3D it. And look, I can see it in 3D.
Yeah, and it's just everybody's not like this, but that stuff just
it's all built on the backs of those men and women that did that.
It is, and they worked hard and long on that, I'll tell you. And you may never have touched one, you may never use one, but if you ever have, you know how important they are. Because I used to live.
If you don't know maps, you might not know nothing.
You might not know nothing.
If you can't read a map, you might not know nothing.
Now, the next one's got a number in it.
40,000 men
taught to read and write. Now I suspect it's even more than that. But
can you imagine that? 40,000 men.
That's a lot. Most of these guys who joined the CCC at that time, and I may have these numbers here in a minute, were very uneducated. You know how it was. They were
our people that didn't know nothing.
They either didn't go.
They knew stuff. They knew some stuff.
But
they didn't know how to read and write.
Book writing and book learning, they didn't get. I know a lot of men. I grew up and worked with a lot of men that were my dad's age, who never got past the third grade in elementary school. I mean, I worked with a lot of guys.
My grandpa went to the 6th grade and then went to work in the sawmill.
Hell, he was highly educated then.
6th grade, sawmill, off the war.
I worked with a guy. His name was off the war. His name was, I just knew him as Junior. And his last name was Lewis. So it's Junior Lewis. I'm sure he had a formal name, but that's what everybody called him. Junior. And I worked with him for 2 or 3 years when I was still in high school, and it never crossed my mind until about halfway through that period that Junior could not read or write anything. I was flabbergasted. This was in 1970, probably 2, 3. that time period, because I was working part-time for the tire company back then. And he worked in the warehouse there and drove a truck around, did haul stuff locally. Worked in the plants, the recapping plant that they had, and he rolled a lot of tires around, stacked a lot of tires. But I'd get sent off with Junior to do a project, and slowly but surely, I figured out Junior couldn't read. And I asked him how he got around, and he said he figured out he just memorized the signs, and he figured out how to. But if you ask him to write on something or sign something or read a receipt for a pickup, he didn't. He really didn't know what was on there. I think he made his mark. I don't even know if he spelled Junior, but I was flabbergasted even back then that he couldn't read or write.
My bus driver signed stuff with an X.
Do what?
My bus driver, all the way through high school, he signed his name with an X.
And that's probably all he had.
He made his mark. He couldn't read or write.
So this problem didn't get ended by the CCC, but they really made an effort to fix that. And I've got it, I'm pretty sure here just in a minute. Well, I got it. Maybe this is it. Maybe I don't have it in another place, but they had 45,000 truck drivers every year that they trained. That's a big deal because people back then, these guys they're talking about, didn't know how to drive anything, much less a clutch and a straight shift and all that. They had to be taught how to do all that stuff because they didn't have trucks. People didn't have trucks in their driveway back then. They taught liberal arts classes and vocational classes, and men learned how to run machine shop. Now, and here's how it worked. You busted your butt all day long, digging dirt, making erosion dams, building other things, planting trees, doing whatever kind of making walls, building houses. And then at night, you went back to camp, you had dinner, and then at night they taught classes for 2 or 3 hours each night. You didn't have to go to them. They were available, and it said 90% of the people that went to these CCC camps took part in these educational programs. That's why I say it says 40,000 men to read or write there, and I think it was probably far greater than that. Maybe a lot of them didn't get to high school level or college level reading ability or something, but they still learned how to read and write. It was a big deal for these guys. And they went away from the CCC believing they could do something and they were somebody.
They went to war.
And they largely went to war, yeah.
And then they came home and were the greatest generation.
Yeah, and this is partly how they got. But think about the greatest generation suffered through the Depression, maybe worked for the CCC, and then went off to war. Duration of the program was April 15th, 33 to June 30th, 1942. The official motto was, "We can take it." I'm not sure exactly. I guess that means we may be down, but we can fight back. The other nickname
was, "You can kill us, but you can't eat us because that's against the law."
Name that movie. To Hell and Back. About Audie Murphy.
Roosevelt's Tree Army.
Yeah, a lot of people referred to it as Roosevelt's Tree Army. There were a total of, this number says 3,463,766 men. There were 263,755, what they referred to as non-enrolled personnel. These were the people they brought in, like the leadership from the Army. Because I mentioned the Army was running things, but the Army was organizing it.
Forest Service
was doing a lot of the jobs, but the Navy was here. I don't know about the Coast Guard, and the Air Force was part of the Army, but the Navy was involved. Navy Department back then would have covered probably Coast Guard, Marines.
18 to 19-year-old.
So they were all involved in this actually.
They were average enrollee, 18 to 19, 147 pounds.
5 foot 8 1/4 inches tall.
Would be me.
And they said the average weight gain of each employee within the first 3 months was 11.5 pounds. I don't know who kept all these numbers, but the Army keeping numbers.
And these are great stats.
There were 4,500 camps. Average number of camps operating per year was 1,643. Now, the reason it says that and why there's a difference between that number and the 4,500 is they did rotate these camps. If they were in Tennessee at Camp 153, for example, and they built all the things that were scheduled for that camp for that year, they might move them to Texas and they might build same kind of stuff out there, and then they might move the camp to Montana and do it again. So They moved some of them around. So that's why there's some variation there. Every state plus Hawaii, Alaska, and Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. Even back to see Hawaii and Alaska weren't a state yet. I guess.
I'm going to get sent to the Virgin Islands. Dang.
Dang. Oh, me. Man days spent fighting fires, 6,459,000 man days that they fought fires in the West mostly. And up in Michigan and places like that where wildfires had been devastating up there for years due to poor forestry practices and things like that. This is an important number that don't get talked about. Number of men who died fighting those fires in the CCC, 79. So that's actually quite a few guys in a short amount of years. Allotments to dependents, $662,895,000. And the total cost of the program to the U.S. government overall, which was going to these guys to help pay them and stuff, was $3 billion. And these lists were put together. And if you're interested, Martha Smith is the name on the list, but it's a Facebook page. It's RCCC Heritage. And that is a really good. I mean, I don't use Facebook a lot of times for facts and numbers and stuff, but this one had a lot of really good information on it, a lot of really good pictures. So I recommend you go take a look. Now, we'll talk about a little bit of something closer to home for a minute. Now, this is a map of Tennessee. I don't know why they stood it up on its end like that.
I don't either.
Oh, Tennessee. Tennessee's a long state.
You're freaking me out, dude.
Well, look at it. That's correct. That's how they drew it. It's a long state and it won't fit on a page the other way. So just turn her up at an angle. So these are CCC camps that were in Tennessee as of 1939.
Is that District E or C?
Whoa. I don't guess you heard that.
What?
Had a boomer right here over the library, shook the roof.
Oh, you just had some thunder.
I just got a little startled there just for a minute. I didn't wet my pants or anything, but I was a little startled.
Thunder dreamers are good people.
Yeah. So anyway, the way you could tell who was doing what at these camps, they'd have a number. Well, they'd have a letter designation and then a number. So, like if you were in a national park, say Great Smoky Mountains National Park, and there were several CCC camps working in the park, it would start out like NP-37, National Park CCC. It was CCC camp, National Park 37. Or it just have an F, and that stood for National Forest Service Projects. SP was the state parks. TVA was, of course, all the Tennessee Valley projects. And those Tennessee Valley, because the Tennessee River and the Tennessee Valley runs through it runs through 5 states, I believe, actually, if you count them all. But it spreads out to 7 states. So all that area had TVA camps, not just Tennessee. And if it was a TVA park camp, like we had several of here in my area, it was TVA-P, which meant it was a TVA project, but they were building state park or working on state park lands. There were SCS, soil conservation. They were doing a lot of the erosion control. And then there was actually a P designation that was for camps and work done on private forestry lands. And again, that was not because they were trying to help somebody fix their private land, but it's because that private land was washing down into the river and down into all the way to the Mississippi, and either getting lost forever or blocking things up and causing floods. So all of it got worked on. Have I ever mentioned that's a parflex back there hanging on the wall? Anyway.
No, back up. Say that again.
I said, did I ever mention that there's parflex hanging back here on the wall?
I see it. I see it.
Our TP is well equipped, buddy. And some of this came from PBS's American Experience show about the CCC, but they claim that Wyoming had about 4,800 men assigned to up there at one time or another.
Guernsey. John's been there.
Hang on a minute. I want to ask you something about Guernsey. Don't lose that thought. There were 24 camps. Of those, 15 were on the national forest, 7 national parks, 1 on federal reservation. I'm not sure which one. That might have been Wind River, maybe. And 1 on private land. Again, they didn't list who that was. Now, let's talk about that, Mark. These pictures are both, I think, are from Guernsey State Park. Have you been there?
Yeah. It was in my district for 11 years.
I thought it was. That's why I'm asking.
I have found bats in that building right there.
Yeah.
I've misnetted bats right there outside of that building.
A lot of these buildings that were built. This is I put this picture in here for 2 reasons. One, I think it's a cool picture. But it shows that this was a form of architecture and how they built things out here. The CCC did, and the CCC had all these kids and young guys learn how to work and do this stuff. Usually, they were also master, like stonemasons, that were there teaching them how to do this. So these buildings were
gorgeous. It's still standing.
And it's the same way back here. There's walls standing here, just a simple wall that was built so well that it's still standing there, and it'll probably be there till hell freezes over.
Me and my buddy that was in the non-game division, I was just the local wildlife biologist. Right outside the mouth of that, caught the first 4 pallid bats ever caught in that part of Wyoming.
Wow,
right there.
Cool.
We had a mist net set up right outside that building.
Well, this building is called the Castle by some people, I guess. And it's a 2-room picnic shelter, actually.
Yeah.
I think that is so cool, man. If that was closer to your house, I'd say, let's go there and have a picnic next time.
It's still standing. It still looks just like that.
I mean, and it's amazing. Again, if you go to a park, if you've ever been to a national park, a rustic one at least, all over this country where there's stone walls and stone buildings and foundations, and they were built by these people. I've got a picture I'm going to show you in a minute that's kind of close to home for me. That's more than just all these are. That's the same, sort of the same story.
These kids had good teachers.
They had good teachers. And you know what? When I read about all this,
work.
Do what?
They had good teachers and they did exceptional work.
They did, and
that's still standing.
These guys, I guess, even though some of them came from rowdy places and probably gangs and everything else, and in some big cities and other places, or out in the middle of the country where they didn't know right from left, which was a real thing. Hayfoot, strawfoot kind of thing. They wanted to learn this stuff. Apparently, you don't read a lot of stories about miscreants and people that caused trouble that joined up and then just raided the kitchen or you don't. That's not what you read about. You read stories about these young men or their boys, as they referred to them in every document I can find. The boys of Camp something. They had already been through enough hell in their lives, I guess, that they were going to be better, do better. And
they were tough young men.
And they were tough, and they did the job.
They did amazing work.
Some of the sandstone for the CCC buildings at Guernsey were quarried near Thermopolis. How far away is? 250 miles away. It says from where the park is.
Yeah, it's a long way from Thermop to.
But that's where most of that stone was quarried from. I thought that's so cool. I think I've got another picture of that just in a minute. It's even cooler.
So the mountain range that runs between Yellowstone and the other part of the good part of Wyoming, that Thermopolis is on that east side.
Okay.
And my youngest granddaughter is named after that range, the Absarokas.
Oh, well, that's right. She is the new one, the new baby, newest baby. And if anything goes right, the last one. Anyway, so some of the accomplishments, and I just read accomplishments up there. My God, I spelled that terribly. Accomplishments. Holy crap, guys.
I thought you already read this.
Well, I did, but I read it quick, and I guess my eyes just go right past it till I'm sitting here and get embarrassed in front of everybody. That's horrible. Anyway, and I've already read a lot.
Quacker.
Quacker, like quackers. Not quackers, exactly.
You're a quacker.
This is just some of this is just repeated stuff about
3,470 fire towers.
97,000 miles of fire roads is a pretty big deal. I've been on some of those roads. And again, 4 million man fighting fire days, 3 billion trees. I don't know if I said this one already, but it's over 7 million enrollee man hours on all kinds of projects. The Soil Conservation Service had over 500 camps performing erosion control. Again, remember when this was? This was during, or at the tail end at least, of the Dust Bowl era when all the soil in the Midwest was blowing away and soil from other parts of the states were washing down the rivers. We had a serious farming soil conservation problem in this country at this time.
I mean New York City was getting covered in dust from Oklahoma, literally.
There's one storm in particular, and I can't remember if they called it they called it. Go to PBS, guys, if you've got access to any PBS programming, and look up the show about the Dust Bowl. Because if you didn't have parents or anybody that told you about it growing up, you need to read that or hear that show, because it has got a lot of stuff they didn't teach us in schools about it. And the Dust Bowl was a horrible and terrible phenomena that we survived, but it had a lot to do with the fact that they tried to farm land that one was too arid and farmed it all incorrectly to the point where all the soil just left. And my wife Brenda's mom's family was from that area, western part of Oklahoma, and they were Dust Bowl farmers and Dust Bowl migrants that left the country, drove.
They went to California because
like just like in the Grapes of Wrath movie. I mean, they all loaded up in the truck and patched the tires all the way out there, and they finally made it to somewhere in Southern California, and then went from there. But they were typical. If you look at the bottom of this page, you'll see this is what I was talking about earlier about like parts of East Tennessee, for example, looked like this, just muddy roads or pathways and erosion between buildings and houses. I mean, I've seen some pictures that I just, even growing up here, I didn't believe were real. People just didn't understand how to control that kind of stuff.
And no trees. I'll guarantee you that hill's got giant old growth hardwoods on it now.
Yeah, well, as old as they can get anyway.
Yeah, I mean, they're 100 years old or whatever.
Yeah, well, they are. Yeah, that's true.
Big mature trees. There was none of that. We done away with all of it.
And there's another misspelled word. 500 camps under the direction of the Solid Conservation Service, Soil Conservation Service. They estimate that there were at least 20 million acres of land protected from that erosion problem during this time period. Again, remember, this is only from 33 to 42. And a lot of that time was spent, and if you think about it, a lot of that time was spent building camps, putting up shelters, and then working and doing all this stuff. So these guys got a lot accomplished in just, a few years.
And the whole wildlife conservation program was built during that same time period.
Yeah, sure was. This country wouldn't have.
We wouldn't have deer. We wouldn't have turkeys. We wouldn't have squirrels. We wouldn't have nothing.
If we didn't have squirrels, what the heck could we talk about half the time?
Exactly.
Think about that, people. You want something scary? Think about that for a minute. Let's see, 85 of the camps are in 15 western states doing wildlife habitat restoration, stream improvements, restocking fish, building small dams for water conservation, and working with the Corps of Engineers and stuff on larger dam projects or the Bureau of Land Management out your way a lot of times. Drainage on 84 million acres of ag land was fixed, and the drainage problems fixed. Now, I'm going to back up and say in some cases they're talking about draining water off what now we might consider an important wetland. Back then it was all just, farm, and we ain't got to the point where we realized, well, we kind of need wetlands too. So, that's some of that's changed, but that's what that's about. This was interesting. During this time period, like in 1937, there were some terrible Ohio River floods, and I've read some about that, not CCC related. I didn't even think about that, but I remember reading where these floods occurred, and there were lots of people that lived on houseboats on the river back then that got washed downstream. I mean, it was a really bad time. CCC men worked on these projects. They worked to help save these people and their property.
We're fixing to have that again because people are building down in those farm fields down there on the floodplain, and they're going to figure out pretty soon why that's a floodplain.
Well, that's funny you should say that, because I remember 1993-ish when the Mississippi River was flooding, biggest floods we'd had in a long time, in my memory. And they were talking about how many people were being washed away because they were down in the floodplain bottoms, and they were saying, like, we just keep building there. We're not quite sure why people do that, but that's because that's where they live and want to live, but it's not always the best place.
It's like, what? Okay, the name of that habitat type is floodplain.
Floodplain. See that tree over there? That tree is considered.
Is there a reason that people never lived there before?
And see that tree over there? That tree over there is known as and it's wet dependent. You know what that means? That means it likes to be in the water.
That's a river birch, and
it's used to having wet feet. So don't build here. But anyway, they also did. There were floods in Vermont and New York in 1937 that CCC people worked on. Hurricane that went up the coast and hit New England in 1938. I don't remember what that was called, but in recent years, when there's been some hurricanes that have hit up there, I've heard reference to this. Tina or somebody, if you have memories, or your parents, you won't have memories, but your parents may have passed them along. And then in 1937, 36, there were terrible blizzards in Utah and that area. And CCC workers were out there.
They could have done the world a great service.
That Mark. I'm Mark.
But they didn't.
Think how many taxidermists they would have put out of work. And that's a joke, and someday I might tell that on here, but probably not today.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, that's what's going on that stuff. So that CCC did a lot of really good things at the really time when we needed it. And, all right, there you go. They had different work classifications. I'll run through this kind of quick. Like structural improvements. You could learn how to work on bridges, build fire towers, service buildings. You could learn. They had truck trails, minor roads, and foot trails and airfields. They also learned how to work on trucks. Example: one of the CCC camps that Phil and I went to visited the other day. I couldn't get down in it all the way because I didn't want to climb the hill. I wasn't sure I could make it in and out. But one of them, my buddy that was a forester back for TVA when I was there, his name's Joe. And Joe says when he was growing up, he grew up in that area around Norris Lake, Clinton, Tennessee, Norris, Tennessee. He said when he was a kid, they used to go up to the old CCC camp, the buildings and stuff. Some of it was still there. This would have been in the 60s and early 70s. And they'd go up there and go to the garage area, and they'd change the oil in their vehicles because the grease pits and the oil changing racks and all that stuff were still there. So they would drive up there and change the oil out of their truck or their car. And that's, that's a memory he's got. He's just a couple years older than me. And, so that was during my lifetime. People were still doing stuff like that. And of course, I've talked about erosion control. They learned how to, not just that they did it, they also learned why and how to do this for the future. And a lot of these guys went on to do jobs like this. Irrigation, drainage, dams, ditching, channel work, rip wrapping, banks, how to put vegetation to cover ground to keep it from eroding, terracing, check dams, forest culture. They went tree planting, fire prevention, fire pre-suppression, firefighting, insect control, which was a big deal with forest. Usually a lot of forest fires start because of insect infestations that kill a lot of trees. It's happened down here. It's happened down his way. It's happened in California. A lot of times that's where all that fuel comes from. Of course, landscape and recreation of public camps and picnic grounds that were built, ponds and lakes. Of course, they learned how to clear areas properly and develop them up for future growth. There was range work.
Elimination of predatory animals.
We won't go into that too deep, but that means they were shooting coyotes and cutting their ears off, and wolves and probably bears and whatever. Wildlife work, stream improvement, fish stocking. You see a lot of that there's a lot of work done on fisheries and fish stocking and stuff when they talk about wildlife. That was kind of where a lot of things started. Always seemed to me like. And of course, I said a minute ago, food and cover planting, and all kinds of other things. Some of them learn how to do emergency. I don't want to say emergency repairman. What would the word? Anyway, professionals, how to survey people. Some people learned how to be a surveyor. They also learned about mosquito control, which was another big deal in the Tennessee Valley. I grew up thinking that the word yellow fever, or no, not so much yellow fever, malaria, was something that happened to you in Vietnam or some other foreign country when you went off to explore the pyramids or something. But that's not really true.
Used to be a bad deal in America.
Southeastern United States and the Tennessee River Valley had a real malaria problem back then.
All the way up into Virginia.
Yeah, all that area that had that kind of weather.
Washington, D.C.
Yeah, it was
a hot spot for malaria.
Up until the time I left TVA, there were still people there that hadn't retired yet or were close to it because it hadn't been that long ago. But they worked on mosquito issues with TVA still. TVA, to this day, fluctuates the level of the reservoirs a few inches every couple of days up and down to help prevent mosquito larvae from developing.
Yep.
they get it up. The mosquitoes lay all their eggs. The larvae hatch, and they drop the reservoir suddenly, and they all lay on dry rocks and die. Is what it amounts to. And they do that all summer long to help control mosquito populations. Now, that may sound stupid, or you may think, well, how do they know they're killing them? Well, they studied it, and they trapped them, and they captured them, and they went out there and sat on the riverbank, and they figured out that just doing that alone cut mosquitoes by, half or something.
And it's the wrong mosquito. It's the Aegyptus. It's the malaria one.
Say that again.
Well, I don't remember what the genus name is for mosquitoes, but
me either.
The species is Aegyptus.
Yeah, okay.
From Egypt.
From the word Egypt.
And like after Katrina and things like that, in the Southeast, they were a bad deal.
Yeah, they were a bad deal. And we grew up. Excuse me, I'm grabbing something I dropped. And we grew up not even knowing.
I have plenty of them right here at the house today.
I'll show you. That's why when the wind blows, you don't complain all the time.
No.
Because it blows them to Nebraska.
I said, nay.
Nay. Okay. And now I just got some pictures, some examples of work that was done. The picture on the upper left is a mill house and water wheel at Juniper Springs, Florida, built by the CCC. And I believe that's a state park, I think. The picture in the middle is a typical one of the things. All CCC camps had several buildings. They all had barracks. Once they started in tents, a lot of times the men lived in tents, but they moved into barracks as they got them built. But they all had to have a chow hall, administration buildings, and a library and an educational area. And the library it says they refer to all the libraries as recreational halls too, because I guess they figured that was a good place to go read, and that was recreation. But the fact that it gave these men, I love how this one's laid out, and I love that big old stove back there. You see that stove sitting in made out of a 55-gallon barrel. I've seen a lot of those stoves in my life. I didn't know they used them. Maybe they invented them. I don't know.
They probably did.
But, they all had that. They all had to have a library, and they all had to have these other learning opportunities. And what is amazing by people who have gone back and researched and studied these men who did these worked with the CCC is that most of them, and the number is up actually in the high 90% range. That's why when it said 40,000 men learned to read and write, that's probably true at some level, but a lot more than that learned how to read and write at least a little bit, because they think at least 90% of the men that went through the CCC program took advantage of these opportunities. Because what a lot of people don't understand is most of the time when kids quit school at 3, at the third grade, not at 3, in the third grade was because they went to work. They started working on the farm to help dad and mom, milk the cow, right, plant the corn, or fight the erosion or whatever. That's why they didn't go to school. They didn't go to school just so they'd go hang out at the street corner,
right,
smoke cigarettes and drink beer and ride Harley or something. That wasn't what it was about. They had to quit. They went to work, and they didn't get the opportunity to go to finish their education. So a lot of them took that opportunity right here. It was important to them. They knew what they'd missed. Now, some of them didn't ever get it, and some of them didn't care. There's always those guys. But there's a lot of them that realized that this is really a big deal, and when they got the chance, they took it. Down below is some they're doing road construction in Utah. Do you know where that's at?
Yeah, it's where the Wright family lives, dude.
Oh, okay.
Beaver, Utah.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah,
that's where the Wright brothers live.
Who are rodeo people?
And if you're a rodeo fan, if you drive down the highway I-15, I think.
That sounds right.
My middle daughter and my son-in-law, you pass a sign that says Fillmore Beaver. There's a town called Fillmore, and there's a town called Beaver.
And somebody
and every time that anybody has driven past there, if they're in the vehicle, they're laughing the whole time.
Well, anyway, moving right along. Sorry about that.
Moving right along. Sorry for that. But you can't put that picture up there and not make me laugh.
That's true. Make sure those forms are all signed, Carol, please.
F-I-L-L more.
More? Oh, really? Okay. Okay. The education part a little bit. The CCC wasn't just about conservation and on-job training. Volunteers were given opportunities to get an education while earning a living themselves and their families. And that education could be reading, writing, or, you can't be a machinist and not know how to read numbers and fractions and decimals and stuff like that. Ask Mark. 55% of enrollees were from rural communities, so majority of which were and majority of the rest were non-farm, came from urban areas, big cities such as that. Level of education for the average enrollee, 3% literate. So 3 million men signed up and went through this program, roughly 3.5, somewhere in that neighborhood. 3% of those men started out as illiterate. Couldn't read or write. I don't know exactly what level. Carol may know if there's a standard. 3%. Think about that for a minute. 38% had less than 8 years of school. 48% did not complete high school of those. And then another 11% were high school graduates, a total of 11% out of those millions. I mean, that's not a lot. At the time of entry, 70% of enrollees were malnourished and poorly clothed. Few had work experience beyond occasional odd jobs and working the farm, milking the cows, planting corn, digging taters. I mean, that's what they did. Peace. I thought this was kind of interesting. Once they mixed a lot of people up. You had what some people might say, the gangs from New York and the gangs from East Tennessee. How'd they get along? Well, they probably didn't in some cases, but peace was maintained by the threat of a dishonorable discharge from the CCC.
Really?
So you could get a dishonorable discharge from the CCC that carried the weight of a dishonorable discharge from the Army. And there was a time when that really meant something. Actually, it still does. There are things you still can't do, or you weren't supposed to be able to do, like maybe buy a gun, handgun, if you've had a dishonorable discharge. I'm not sure if that's still entirely true, but it used to be in some states. But dishonorable discharge was a big deal. So, and it meant something to these guys because this is what peace and maintaining peace within these camps apparently was not a problem. I've read very little that said it was. And this is another quote from one of the newspapers. All the camps produced annuals and newspapers, and the newspapers were called Happy Days, and then they would be like Happy Days from camp whatever. This one is Happy Days from one of the North Carolina camps. It said, "This is a training station. We're going to leave morally and physically fit to lick the old man depression." That was their motto, and they did. In many ways, I think this had a lot to do with it. Okay, let's see.
These young men came out of this much better human beings.
They did. This is more about the education program. A significant focus was placed on teaching enrollees to read and write. With over 57,000 men learning those skills within the CCC. Again, I would argue that that's higher than that, but at what level they learned. But most of them learned how to at least read and write a little bit because they didn't know how to do diddly before that. Many young men who had previously interrupted their education were able to earn high school diplomas or GEDs because of the CCC program. Again, big deal. Vocational training. The CCC offered vocational training in various fields related to conservation and forestry and other trades, preparing enrollees for future employment, such as machinists. There's I see a lot of pictures from different camps where they've got machine shops set up, and there's instructors down there over guys learning how to be a machinist. That was a big deal come World War II time, because if you couldn't go and fight, they sure as hell needed you in the machine shop somewhere building parts, making tanks, building rifles.
Yeah. You had to be able to train your wife and girlfriend when you got to go to war.
Yeah, you could try exactly that too. Higher education opportunities. Some actually got to go on and obtain, because of this step up, they eventually got college degrees. And it was a step ladder thing, and the CCC was kind of the jumping off point for a lot of that. They also did a lot of local community work, served as instructors, and once things were done, they might have stayed on and learned how to teach somebody else how to do a job. Further integrated the CCC educational program with the surrounding communities. And
you throw a hula hand.
Say again?
I said, yeah, they trained them like, here's how you throw a hula hand.
Well, yeah, maybe that too.
Maybe you rope this way, maybe you rope this way.
These are pictures of that lower left one is some mathematics. I'm sure these are staged and taken. I can see a photographer going there, setting up his camera, and the teacher's up there and saying, all right, boys, today they're going to take some pictures. So, nobody picked their nose or flip boogers or no fighting, no punching, no kicking.
You can't bite. You can't bite today.
No, you can't. So act like you're paying attention. But still, there's a lot of this kind of pictures, and I think the results show that they did learn. Same left-hand picture is the library. Like I said, each camp had to have a library area and a reading area, and that's probably where I would have lived. I can't imagine as book crazy as somebody like me was once I got a hold of books. And granted, I was in a different time period, but once I learned about books, I couldn't find enough and get up my hands on enough. I was always in the library looking for stuff. So they partnered with a lot of local colleges to offer courses as men, got up a little bit higher education. Again, these are just photographs. The upper right one is a spelling class. So those guys may be sitting through not a spelling bee, but all right, boys, get out your paper. We got 10 words for this week, or run fast, go slow. I remember that kind of stuff when I was.
Spell chrysanthemums.
M-U-M. Mum. Anyway, that's what these are examples of classes and training areas. There's said antlers on the wall. Potbelly stove in that room, not a big barrel stove. Can't read any of those posters that are on the wall.
Well, there's no way that a bunch of young men were going to be together and not have a bunch of antlers on the wall.
That's true. Good point. These are camp. I say I didn't note these. These camp pictures. I think that upper left one was supposed to be. Obviously these are out west. I think that 44 might be in Wyoming, and the upper left one maybe. I'm not sure about that upper right. That looks more like California or Oregon or someplace with bigger trees.
We don't have trees that tall.
Yeah, you hip high is about all you guys get, isn't it? I'm kidding, but anyway, these are just other camps pictures that are out there. There's a lot of stuff out there. Again, I hope you're interested. I like history stuff, so me.
They're standing at attention. They got ties on.
They do have ties on.
They probably worked in those.
Yeah, probably.
Well, they are working right there.
I can't remember. I did.
Those look like Native Americans or black fellows.
Well, black groups over here, and they're learning masonry, bricklaying, and these
They're
guys
like laying bricks and wearing ties.
Yeah, and these guys are Native American. It is a Native American group on that side working a water project of some sort. They didn't tell. I didn't have all the information on every picture. This is for Carol. The 3 upper left pictures are all from Michigan. Notice something that they haven't. Well, the bottom one doesn't have snow.
So they didn't have any trees left.
Huh? Oh, no trees.
We've spent time in Michigan. I've never seen a place that barren of trees.
Yeah, well, that was how a lot of forestry was done then, though, up there.
So they had cut all the timber, put that camp up, made them boys plant a gazillion trees.
Yeah, which are up there growing today.
So,
one of the big problems in that part of the country that I remember about forestry was they cut everything and left everything on the ground that they didn't want. So they'd cut a big tree down, strip it of all the limbs and maybe half the bark, and they cut the tree up and they take the tree stem, the big parts of the tree that they could use, they take that, and everything else would just get left on the ground. And over time, that built up to where they had these huge and terrible fires because all that dried up, and then they caught fire, and you had these deadly fires across that part of the world.
Yeah,
and I can't name them, but I've read about them, and they were awful, and they killed people. They burned whole towns, and it was because of that how they did the harvest,
slash and burn kind of forestry.
Yeah, and that's here in this country, not in Brazil or someplace else where you might read about it today. That was going on here. And I'm sorry, but I'm going to say this, but partly because there was no regulation on that kind of stuff then, they didn't have to go in and fix it when they were done. They just cut it, left it, walked away, went somewhere else, cut it again. And as it dried up, it just became one big, huge bonfire waiting to happen. And they happened. This on the left, right, is another rock mason thing. It's a bridge, and it's in Rock Creek, Arkansas. I didn't know if you'd ever been there or not, Mark. I'm not sure where that is exactly.
I haven't.
I don't know if
it's beautiful, though.
If Dawn's still there, she may have. Now, they go somewhere up in Arkansas. She's done some videos from their live streams. I can't see the chat right now, so I don't know if she's still here. Dawn, if you are here, have you ever been to this Rock Creek? But there's a lot of things like that around here, too. We got a Rock Creek State Park in Unicoi County. We got a Limestone Cove State Park or area. And it has this rock, the same kind of stonework in it. I just like to go over and touch it. I don't care if you do laugh. It just gives me I can lay my hands on that or sit down on that, and it just makes me feel like I'm in a different world. I can't explain that. It's just, I've always felt that. There's an attachment to that stuff. It just means something. I think it's important.
A guy or a gal built that with their own 2 hands.
With their own 2 hands.
And they carried them rocks from somewhere.
And it's still there.
And 100 years later.
Still being used every day.
It's like going to see a pyramid.
It is. It really is. And these are some Western camps. I think these are both Wyoming. I'm not positive about the upper left one. The bottom one it didn't say where that's at. Mark, I don't know. You can give us an idea of maybe what part of the state.
Well, that's not in Guernsey.
No, that's not in Guernsey. I know. I know that's not in Guernsey. But anyway, that's supposed to be a Wyoming camp.
I think that's probably up around Cody or somewhere. But
also, a darker side of life in humans is a lot of these camps, some of these camps in Wyoming and other places became prisoner of war camps during World War II.
That might be Heart Mountain. I don't think it is, but.
Well, that turned into a POW camp, didn't it?
Heart Mountain?
Yeah.
Yeah, there were a lot of Japanese people
Yeah.
interned
Well,
there.
excuse me. Yeah, and internment camps too. In this case, that's another dark
Heart Mountain was a
spot.
Japanese, American Japanese
Concentration kind of camp.
concentration camp, if you will.
An internment camp, I believe. Is
A
the
lot
direct.
of the boys that lived there signed up and went off to war.
Went to Europe in the what
Yeah,
437 or 434th Infantry. I can't
they
remember.
wouldn't let 334, I think. They would not let them go to the South Pacific.
Right. They sent them. Yeah.
They
Well,
made
you know,
they
makes
made them go to
sense.
they made them go to Europe, but man, were they warriors.
They had. I think they went over there with an attitude and something to prove. They
Yeah,
didn't.
like we're Americans.
Yeah,
We're
we're
Americans.
Americans.
We're American, by God. You
So
took
our
all
parents.
you took all of our stuff and sent us over there. You know, they didn't send them over there. They volunteered to go over there. You took all of our stuff. We're
Yeah.
going to prove to you that we're Americans,
We
not
belong. And
Japanese.
they did. Most decorated unit in the war, if I'm not mistaken.
They were amazing. But
So anyway, and there are people that have been in our
squirrel, squirrel. I'm not.
Well, there are people that have been in our community in the past, as in this chat. Some of the Disney community you folks may or may not know that whose parents were in, some of these camps, and maybe in Wyoming or Oregon or wherever else they went.
Colorado.
Yeah, it's just, and those guys literally they volunteered and went to war to prove they were. It was almost like they had to do something other guys didn't have to do. I mean, not all Americans went to war. Don't get me wrong, then, but I mean, the Japanese Americans that were there felt like they needed to prove. I mean, I guess we kind of made them prove it in a way, which was not fair to them, but they did. By God, they went and fought, and they fought,
and they were good at it.
They were good at it, and they proved it. They came home. They should have come home big heroes, and they did, as far as I know. But I don't know. I'm sorry, black eye. And this was some pictures that were taken of chow hall areas outside, guys eating outside. And this upper one was Roosevelt went to camp.
There he is.
There he is,
right sitting right there at the head of the table.
And this picture, I'm sure, was set up and posed for the photographer. But nonetheless, I read a little bit about this. He did go to some of these camps and eat. They took him out. Roosevelt couldn't get around very well for stuff like this. So, and you can kind of tell that sitting there. So most of these pictures, you'll see him sitting down at the table or whatever. But, this one on the lower right is an actual picture of a chow hall area outside where guys could sit and eat their lunch. And they got fed 3 squares a day. And this first one up, the first picture on the left, which is not very good, is an actual newspaper photograph of some of the very first enrollees walking into Camp Roosevelt in Virginia. You can look there and see there's a guy on the far, their left, our right, that's obviously military, was probably sent in there to help, get these guys kind of organized, maybe set up in their bunks or whatever, tents, whatever they had. And probably tents when they first started. This statue on the left is called the CCC Worker, and this statue has kind of become a standard. So you find these in places all over the country where people have gone back and erected. Now, I think this one in particular is at Camp Roosevelt, I think, because I've seen it in some other photographs. There's a little video online about the CCC Heritage Group who has put some of these up. And this statue there's a map. I didn't put it on here, but there is a map you can go to that shows you every place where there's one of these standing. If you wanted to go see one, or if your father served in a camp or worked in a camp. And I'm going to call that the end, but I thought, wow, what a great place. Here is a CCC camp. in Monument Valley, Utah. Now, it might have been hot and dry. It could have been colder than hell. But look what a view. I mean, just look what a view. Probably a hell of
It
a lot
was
better
hot
than
and
Drake.
dry, dude.
Do what?
On that particular day, it was hot and dry.
Hot and dry, yeah. So that's the end of that part of the presentation, but I do want to add a couple small personal things.
Well, and I have one thing to add.
You go ahead. You do yours because I need a break anyway.
Well, my beautiful bride was a member of the YCC,
The Youth Corps,
the Youth Conservation Corps, and she paved. She was part of the crew that paved the trail around Matotipi, the Devil's Tower.
Oh yeah,
The Lakotas would call it Matotipi, the Bears Lodge. She paved the trail around that and spent like a whole summer up there, like living in a tent and doing conservation corps stuff. She thinks it may have that program ended in maybe 1980, 81, somewhere in there.
That might be about right.
And which is too bad. It's too bad that it ended. But she got to go up and, city kid from Cheyenne, got to go to live up at the Matotipi and hang out there all summer.
I think that'd be pretty cool myself.
Yeah, climbed the rock.
Did you go to the top?
Which is amazing to me. Because if you've ever seen it, it's a fairly imposing structure out in Crook County.
Hey, Dave, welcome in. Give me just a minute here. I don't know how many people I've missed that have come and gone. I hope I didn't miss too many going out, but I see Dave's come in. Dave's Disney Dreams dropped by. Howdy, Dave. Good to see you.
I don't have my comments turned on.
That's all right. I'll look back here for a minute. Anyway, and I'm sure I've missed everything. Carol or Dina or somebody, if you see something there that I need to see or you think I want to answer, please feel free to put it up or let me know. Very cool show. Nice positive U.S. history. Mostly. Yeah, it wasn't all positive, Ian, but a lot of this was positive. This was a good thing.
This was a great thing.
Even I don't say this normally about something like this, but even with the segregation issues, they were still giving some guys a chance to get, better themselves and work and learn to read and write, even if they were black and white. And if the program started out being integration just hadn't happened yet, at least not in the South.
I would think
that's a whole nother terrible
like one of those deals that saved our country, personally.
I think so. And I think it could have been another one of those deals. I personally believe it could have gone on into the future. And of course, Roosevelt would like to have done that. Some people thought that was too expensive, but I think it did a lot of good, especially considering we went right into World War II.
Well, I mean, we just got out of the Great Depression, and the fellows needed something to do.
Oh, and so do I. I wasn't saying I didn't. I'm glad they were too. I'm glad they got a chance. That's what I'm saying. Even with the segregation, they still got a chance, and they still got to learn to read and write.
Native Americans and African Americans both got the chance to do this work.
And I think I read somewhere, I didn't pick it up here quick, but I think I read somewhere that there were even some opportunities for like Japanese Americans to go out and do similar work at some point, even though they were not, considered friendlies at the time or whatever. But anyway, so there was a lot of things that were done along this line that weren't all bad. And it was, but it was a real
I
time.
actually think this is when it kind of started shifting.
Yeah.
You know, in like World War II, the Marine Corps was the first
integrated
service that, like, you're either a dark Marine or a light Marine. That's it. You're all green.
You're all green inside.
and you know, they had Marines that were fighting at Peleliu and fighting at Iwo Jima that were African Americans fighting right alongside of white troops, and that I think this program is what started the whole deal. Like,
Could be.
we're not we we need to just treat each other like human beings.
Yeah. In a simpler form, man, why can't we just all get along?
Exactly.
These are you through with that for the moment?
What?
Did you get said what you wanted to say? I guess you did.
Well, I told Sean a story about working with the youth conference.
Well, we're going to talk some more. I was just going to explain what these were real quick.
No, you go do your deal.
This is on a personal level for me because this billboard or this kiosk I took these pictures on stands at the corner of a parking lot that used to be my office, where my office was when I first went to work for TVA. We were in a triple wide trailer just down below Norris Dam. And this poster, this kiosk has been put up there and changed and gotten better and better over the years. But there was there were several CCC camps around Norris, TVA camps, TVA SP camps, that kind of stuff. And this poster, this was there, and you can see a lot of these pictures are some of the same ones I had on my show. I didn't realize that when I was doing it, but they're using some of minds think alike, I suppose. But anyway, this is that kiosk. Phil and I went up there Friday because I wanted to at least take a couple of pictures of this one, and I have one other thing I want to show that was from up there. But you know, this camp, there was two camps that they're talking about here, Camp 45 and Camp 445 or 440, 454 or something. I can't remember now the number. Anyway, that was two of the camps that worked around the state parks and stuff on North. There were, see, I got a list of them. I've actually got a, don't laugh. I've got I'm nerded out here a little bit. I got a spreadsheet of all these and where they're at now. But there's a couple of these things that I was involved in some different ways. Because this is the history, and thank goodness they're up there working on this history now, restoring this. They may never restore it to what it looked like in this photograph. That's the actual image of this camp. But at least they're going up there and finding where the buildings were and the barracks were, and they're doing a lot of archaeological finds stuff up there right now. So they, we care about it. And that one is actually inside Norris Dam State Park. So that gives them the ability to go in there and work on it. And I don't know if that's due to an expansion in the last 20 years, if they added that so they could do that, or because TVA wasn't necessarily working on stuff at the time. But it's right along a big power line that comes out of the dam and heads up over the hill to electrify the valley. And this is a camp I don't know much about.
On the grid.
Do what?
Put us all on a grid.
Put us all on the grid. This is a camp that I didn't know existed, and I drove by it for years on my way to work. Or not on my way to work, but at work doing different jobs. And I didn't even know it until one day somebody put up, it's not a good picture because I couldn't get out to see it. It's on private land now. This stone wall in this lower right-hand picture where my much larger cursor than it used to be is, says Camp Will Rogers. And I think this is TVA camp number, I've got this written down somewhere, but I may not, for some reason I didn't put it on here. It's like Camp 54 or something like that. Oh, here it is. Camp Will Rogers. Oh, Camp 13.
13.
Camp 13. And, oops. And somebody is, I have to guess it's the private landowner, unless this is out in an area on North called Sharps Chapel, which is really still is a very isolated, mostly rural community. There's been a bunch of people move into certain spots where there's lake access because they want to be on the lake, and they're changing the culture of Sharps Chapel. It's a culture issue that I had to deal with a lot working up there. That can be another story. But anyway, what they started uncovering here, and as you can see now, this stone wall was there, but it was all grown up and covered over. Now they've had to repair it in places, but that stone wall in the middle of the field is the one where they built the monument that says, this is Camp Will Rogers, TVA Camp 13. And it says something else that I couldn't read. It's at the very bottom of it. But this one it was something I just drove by for a long time and didn't know it was there. It was just a field, an open space, a barn, a house, and some trees, and there was nothing there until they started clearing it off and put this thing up. And I thought, well, damn, I need to get more interested in this. And those guys are sitting at this camp. What does it say, 1943? Well, it didn't say, does it? Anyway, somewhere between 33 and 42. And I just thought, well, I found this picture this morning.
And they're Forest Circus guys.
And they're Forest Circus guys. That's true. The Forest Circus was running.
But look at them. I'm sure they were ready to go to work.
Oh, I'm sure.
And they're all in ties.
Yeah, they're all in ties, which I don't happen to agree with, but okay. So one of the reasons oh no, where's my picture? Oh no.
Oh no, what?
I lost something. Oh hell. All right, well I'm going to have to open it up another way. Stand by a minute. I took another picture I wanted to show here.
Oh,
what?
No.
What? Don't laugh at me. I'm
not laughing. I'm laughing with you.
I'm a sensitive
not
soul.
At you.
Okay. Where'd it go? Oh, here it is right here. All right. Let me see if I can make this big and put it on the screen. All right. This photo, I took this the other day, and I have a side story. Of course I do. Because I always have a story. All right. Just down below where Camp Will Rogers was this dam. And I'm driving along one day. Now, this isn't a big mystery to a lot of people, but there's a lot of people that I worked with and a lot of people that live here, they don't know anything about this thing. But I drove by here one day and I saw this sticking out of the woods, and I got out of my truck and I started looking at it, and so I became interested and I started trying to learn a little bit more about it. Well, this is a dam that was built by the CCC guys, I'm sure from Camp Will Rogers, because that's the one, it's not. Well, actually, as the crow flies, it's probably a couple hundred yards. You got to swing around to get up in there from the creek, but it's a stone-built dam that is, to me, beautiful. And now I don't like, me. I'd rather see wilderness and no development, that kind of. But this wall is built with curves and features, and it's all stone. Some old guys built this with their hands, and it's the face of it down there where the water flows over. It's just perfectly smooth and rounded down, and it hits this big face of the dam where water would sluice off of it if the water was coming out of the creek. So there's a creek on the right that's going back up in the holler, and if you go down to the left, you've actually on this day, just the other day, the lake is 100 feet up. On normal days, it's about 100 feet from the face of this dam. It's not touching it, and it doesn't get up in there unless we have a god awful flood. but it wasn't. So I have a story for this. One day in my early years at TVA, an old man shows up at 7. We're all standing around going to work about 7 o'clock in the morning. And this guy and his wife, I think he was driving, pulls up in the parking lot. We don't know. He just pulls up. And he rolls his window down and he starts talking to my buddy, Steve Cottrell. Well, his story was this. He was from, I don't remember where he came from, New York, I believe. And he had brought his wife, and he was in his 70s, mind you, I think now.
Wow.
It would have made sense. He had driven his wife down here to Tennessee because when he was a boy, he had joined the CCC and had been sent to Tennessee in a camp here, and he had helped men that were masons, and he talked about them a little bit, been, these wonderful stonemasons, and helped build this dam.
Yeah.
And but he had no clue how to get there. He had no clue where it was today because he had been there back then. I'm sure they didn't hand him a souvenir map in case he wanted to come back.
Yeah. Yeah, there wouldn't have been a map.
Huh?
There wouldn't have even been
a
map.
No, there wouldn't even have been a map. And, they took these guys all over the country in the back of a big, military type truck. So, hell, they didn't know where they were at or where they were going probably half the time. It's harder to follow your roads and stuff if you're riding in the back of a truck. But anyway, he had come back to Tennessee and he wanted to show this to his wife before it was too late, basically, or he and they died. So I didn't get to go with him, but Cottrell took him over there. And, so he could see this dam one last time. Now, some might ask, gee, Tim, why did they build that dam out there in the middle of nowhere? Well, let me tell you why. When Norris Reservoir was being built, it was going to be, at that time, one of the larger new man-made reservoirs and lakes, at least in the east. Probably in the whole country. I mean, more followed, obviously, that were bigger, but it was going to be a big deal. And there was a lot, and Tennessee is one of the states that, until erosion and things like that took over the rivers, has a huge freshwater diversity of fish and all kinds of mussels and clams and crawdads and just lots of fish. And they were concerned that these fish would not be able to reproduce in deep water reservoirs. And, of course, to make Norris, they had to dam up parts of two major rivers there, the Clinch and the Powell River, which come together at the head of Norris and make one river, the Clinch. But it's all river or lake now, and it's 200-300 feet deep or more in places. And they weren't sure that these fish would reproduce there. So they went out. Part of the plan for Norris was, and the Wildlife Service was involved in this, and the state wildlife people were involved in this. And they said, let's build 5 little mini impoundments on Norris. Now, there's actually 7, but 2 of them are state park lakes where they've dammed up state water so they can canoe and stuff around in the state parks. But there were 5 of these type, different styles. Each one's a different style, too, I might add. Many dams and many impoundments where they were going to race fish in. And they did for a long time in many of these. And they were going to be able to put fingerling fish in there, out like the fish hatchery in Irwin or the one down here near Morristown. And they'd let them grow up to, this size or something, then they would turn them loose. There is one of those that still is in existence and still operates. It's called Doakes Pond. It's on Norris, and TWRA, the Tennessee Wildlife Resource Agency, still uses it. They raise sauger in there and walleye sometimes, and they raise crappie in there. And they turn them loose. Well, this one was one of the other ones that they used that's still standing, and that's an important part of this too, because the other 3 aren't all in one piece. And TWRA actually came back to TVA in the 2000 aughts, and they wanted to know if they could start using this again as a fish hatchery. Well, this land got sold. The land behind this got sold in the 60s when I can't remember who was president then, but they sold off some of TVA's land. This was one of them, and this got turned into pig wallow. Or, there's cattle in there sometimes, but it's mostly swamp is what it is. And, but it's on private land. So like TWRA said, oh, well, we're not going to try to buy that. But this dam was still usable, and it's still standing, and it's still in one piece. And it's just perfect. There were 3 other ones that somebody came to me one time from Tennessee's Dam Safety Division and said, where are these? Well, they got sent to me because nobody else knew what they were talking about at that time. And I helped them find the other 3 dams so they could put them on their maps and say, well, that's okay. We don't need to worry about those after all. Because somebody had realized, hey, there's these other dams on Norris that we don't inspect. We need to go inspect those things. Well, they figured out they really didn't. So they do still inspect the one at Doak's Pond. Anyway, so there's one of these that's not too terribly far from this one. Oh, no, it is a little ways. And it's built entirely different. It looks like some Mayan temple. It's built with like stair steps up from the bottom up and gets, more narrow or wider at the top, whatever. It's still there, but it's all silted in the back. So it's like you step over the uphill side and you'd either sink in mud or you'd be up to your knees in sand and mud. And it has a beautiful little wetland behind it. And that's nice. So it's still there, but the other one, the next one that's isn't too far from here, has been dynamited. It got blasted out. They sold it off and let the current owner, or maybe not the current owner, but the guy who had it then, they let him dynamite about half of it. So it's got a big opening in the middle, and it was more of just a straight wall and to cross the bay, and they could fill it up and then let the fish out and stuff. But that one's destroyed. And then there's one more that I never found. And I don't know if it's because it got dynamited also and blown up, or if it's still on TVA property, but it's underwater. But Ian saying, hey, Tim, I was wondering why there was a lake there. Which one, Ian? The Norris Lake that I'm talking about? Hey, Carol, I missed you. She's probably already long gone, but I didn't see her. Maybe not. Thanks for coming in. Holy heck, it's already 11. It is. Time goes by fast when you're hanging out with us. When you're having fun, time flies. As we say, doesn't time go by? Doesn't time drag when you hate your job? That was another job. But anyway. Uh-oh, you got company. And mouthful.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got company. Anyway, guys, I'll shut it. But that damn, I took that picture day before yesterday, and I'd like to have gotten down there and taken some more. We didn't the other day, but there's not a good place to park here. And I used to just park on the side of the road because that's what I did. And I figured, by God, I was working there. I could park on the side of the road if I needed to. But Phil, I don't think was real comfortable parking on the side of the road. So I told him just to keep, we just stop for a minute and look at it, and take a couple of pictures, and then we'd move on. Anyway, Tina says Danny is very confused. Danny heard your dog barking.
He's hearing all of my dogs barking.
What are you eating? It looks like you picked up a chicken leg. Was it?
What?
It looked like you were eating a chicken leg or something.
No.
No? Okay. Well, guys, that's most of the show. I meant, if you had a question, I meant to please ask it again.
It was chaw.
Oh, you're putting in some chawbacker. Okay. Now I know why it looked like a chicken leg. Okay. Man, I hadn't had a chawbacker in a while. Anyway,
which is a good thing.
Which is a good thing. Yeah. Actually, my dentist told me one time.
Doggies are barking. Yep, doggies are barking.
I had a dentist actually look at my
Well,
teeth.
my little Ursus horribilis, teeny tiny ensis, he's barking.
So did somebody come up?
He's it's just mom.
Oh, it says mom. Okay. Well, they got excited for mom.
He is.
Hit that like button,
He keeps the coons out of the yard at night.
I bet he does. He probably sounds like he probably acts like he's a big old monster when they're in there.
So last night, one of our other dogs was out there, like on the tree, like had her feet up on the tree. She's old, and she was just barking away, and I'm like, oh, I wonder who's there.
Yeah, I wonder who that is. They may sit there if Harriet and Ozzy and Harriet are still there, they might come down and take one of them back to the nest one night.
I wish that they would take one back to the nest before they get to be 40 pounders.
40 pounders with 20 youngins walking around there or something.
Yeah.
We've
got a real coon issue this year.
Real coon issue right now. That's right. And did I answer your question? I wanted to make sure the reason there's a lake in these pictures is because that's part of the TVA water river control stuff and all that. When I was a baby, Mom said I would say, but dogs are barking. Well, of course you would. Mom, the dogs are barking.
It's like my son saying, I can't go outside because it's Winnie out the window.
Winnie out the window. Which one says that?
Samuel.
Samuel, he's a grown man.
I can't go out. I can't go out, Mom, because it's Winnie out the window.
I take it that's something he said as a young child.
A young child, and he was not happy about the whole situation.
Sounds like it. Winnie out the window.
Winnie out the window.
Well, I'll have to try to remember that. Who knows? I might need to use that someday.
You might need to use that one.
Oh, me.
In a book that maybe you and I could produce.
I got some stuff sitting right here in front of me right now, but I got to put it together and get it to you. Anyway,
I got drawings.
Yeah, well, good. I got some of your drawings.
I'm not the writer. I'm the illustrator.
You're the illustrator. I know. That's why I got to send you words mixed with pictures, or let you make some pictures, whatever. Anyway, you got anything else planned for the weekend? Besides watch the book you have. That's right. And I need to write that down in a more formal fashion.
You've never lived till you've been bitten by 1,576 snakes.
Man, speaking of snakes, of course, it's right in the middle. We're right in the middle of our snake season here in Tennessee. I've seen two pictures lately of two big old poisonous kind of critters. One was a big old, really, I'm going to say beautiful, some might say ugly, canebrake copper or rattlesnake. Oh my word, is he handsome and big too.
Huge one.
And then the other one was a big old cottonmouth that somebody had gathered up and was showing. And well, there was one video came out the other day, local or from somewhere in Tennessee. It was said, identify this guy. And on the video, you could hear him flicking rocks at it or something. And he reared that head back and opened that mouth, and it was obvious what he was.
Right.
Cottonmouth.
Oh, could you please identify this snake for me?
Yeah, while it's hanging on
Yeah,
my arm.
yeah, I can tell you exactly what that is.
Snakes make
You
good
haven't
laws.
lived. You haven't lived until you've had a wasp stuck up your britches leg.
Several wasps.
I converted that pants to britches.
That's right. You did to start that. That's what started. I mean, that's what started the conversation. And one of us said that, and you picked up on
You've
it.
never lived until you had like 12 yellow jackets up your overall legs.
Now, see, and why that happens is those little devils in this part of the world like to bore a hole right down into your yard, your flat yard, and you're walking that lawnmower through there, seeing your pacing back and forth, and suddenly your shoe ends up beside that little hole, and up to your front legs they come. What?
They just have a natural affinity
Well, yes.
for the back of your knee.
Oh, yes, that's true. I don't know if that's because we move and squeeze them, or if they just go there. But that happens. It could be two things, because as soon as they start up your leg, first thing you do is retreat quickly. And that movement and the bending of the leg to run could cause some of that.
And or the little tiny black bumblebees that like you roll the bundle of tobacco sticks over, and there's a mouse nest looking thing, but it's really a bumblebee nest.
I've seen a couple of those.
And they go right up your pants leg, and you jump out of the hay mow
to the floor of the barn or out the window of the barn.
Out onto the, in my case, it was out onto the tobacco trailer.
Oh, because it was sitting there. Oh, or you've never lived till you've climbed to the very tippy top of a tobacco barn to hang some tobacco, and you look up, and above your head is a dinner plate sized wasp nest just covered in orange and yellow wasp.
This big around, like,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And there's a bunch of red waspers on it.
It's not, and you're at the top of the barn. Remember, I said top of the barn because you're the kid and you can go up there because they always sent you up there, which was a good thing in that you didn't have to handle as many sticks of tobacco. You only got yours. You didn't have to handle everybody else's, but you also got the wasps.
It was an honor to be in that position.
What?
It was an honor.
Yeah, it was an honor. Unless, except when the bees were there.
You hit the bees.
And boy, I've seen some big nests in barns. No kidding, that size and big. I mean, they'd just be covered in those red, orange wasps and those big yellow ones that just like to get behind your ears and sting. But I don't have them as yellow.
I don't ever remember having my coworkers stung. I would get stung, but I don't remember the gut like tier 3 through 1.
You're talking about tobacco again. No, because they're down below, and you either knock them down on your way out, or they've already left. That's why. Sometimes.
If you were the young nimble kid that could climb like a monkey,
yeah, you were up. You
got up to the top, and you got the bees.
But you didn't have to handle as much tobacco. I figured that out. But do you have deer flies down there, Tim? Yeah, yes, we do, Tina. Not like you do. Probably we have a lot of horde flies down here, which are variation of the same thing that bite like hell and hurt almost worse than a bee in some cases. Now, you guys further north, you get into things like what we call moose flies,
which is like an oversized deer fly.
Yeah. Like an oversized deer fly, yes. And boy, they bite and they hurt, and they you whine and moan and say things you're not supposed to say in polite company. Fortunately, most of the time when I'm getting bit by stuff like that, I'm not in polite company, so it don't really matter.
They fly in and grab your shoulder and take it.
And take a big bite out of it. Man, those things, I remember getting eat up by those things in the boundary waters. Speaking of boundary waters.
Oh my God, they would fly in and hit you so hard and fast, and you couldn't even swat at them.
Yeah, they feel more like a needle injection. Boom, hit you, and then boom, hit you. It's different than a bee sting. It's a really, really, really big deer fly, and they're mean. Yeah, they're mean. Y'all see what they can do to a poor moose in the summertime. The moose will disappear plumb up to its nose in the water trying to get rid of them.
Yeah, remember we saw all those moose that were like swimming around the lake and just the only thing exposed was their nose.
Yeah, it's kind of like almost like a gator. Their nose is sticking up in their eyeballs maybe, but they're trying to get away from those flies. They're terrible. That made me think of something else and I forgot. Something you said. Anyway, it'll come back around. But we have horse flies down there. Not if you don't live near critters, you don't see them as often. But when you get around where there's more deer and there's more horses or cattle and stuff, man, they can be aggravating as a yellow jacket almost, and they bite hard, and they're about the size of they're probably almost a quarter length. They're not that big, but maybe not quite a quarter, but they're bigger than a nickel. Which reminds me of another story I hadn't told yet. So Brenda and I got to show this real quick too. So Brenda and I, that's not the right picture, is it? What is that picture? What is this picture I'm seeing? Oh, that's a battery. Brenda and I were out taking our trash down to the local convenience center Tuesday, and because Monday they're closed. And someone right before we'd been there, someone had come along and they had discarded or laid there on hangers 3 motorcycles, 4 jackets, 3 black leather motorcycle jackets, and 1 almost brand new Carhartt zip up jacket with a hood, fleece lined. The whole bit. Nice coat. Brenda's gonna keep it.
You can't go to the dump and come home with stuff.
Well, I know, but this is stuff I'm going to either give away to somebody that rides or sell it or something, but I'm going to give it to somebody that needs it. And I got to digging around in the pocket, and this is what I found. I found this old buffalo head nickel in the pocket of one of those.
That's it. That's
jackets.
The one.
That's it. That's the one right there. And
what is it sitting on?
It's okay. I'm gonna show you. I knew someone would ask. Let me see if I have to change. Yeah, no, you got it. You got the right image. That's the other side of it. So we're trying to figure out if it's one of those special buffalo head nickels that's got. I don't know why we say I always said buffalo head nickel. Some people say Indian head nickel. I guess maybe that's what I'm used to hearing. But
buffalo nickel.
Buffalo nickel's on the tail. Indian head nickel or buffalo nickel. That's what we call them. And of course, the buffalo's on the backside. And there's all kinds of things apparently that they did wrong with that buffalo. Like sometimes it only has 3.5 legs.
Yeah.
So if you get one that's only got 3.5 legs, apparently that one's worth a lot of money.
Seriously.
Yeah, and then sometimes you get some that are minted in a certain place that are, more rare than others. And this one, if you look in that picture right there, I might be able to make this more bigger. If you look right where
What's 1936?
it's the 36, and I believe it has an F right there, I think, which I believe means it's minted in San Francisco. The Frisco Mint, I think. It's been worn. It's been carried in somebody's pocket.
For a long, long time.
Yeah, because the edges are down, and I mean, this was somebody's lucky piece is here for sure. Either that or he was hoping to save it and it'd be worth something for retirement. But it had been in that jacket pocket so long that it was that yellowish color or brown. It on this picture just kind of shows like brown tarnish. But when I first pulled it out of the pocket, I stuck my hand in and I thought, what the heck? And this came out. It had a bronze look to it. And at first I thought it was just a token from somewhere or something. It wasn't actually a nickel. But as you can see, as we've handled it, some of that's kind of brushed off. So, but anyway, it's a 36. Yes, it has an F under the ear. Yeah, and I think that's a Francisco. But
so if you had not handled it so much and wore all that off,
yeah, it's probably worth.
It would have been worth like $1 million.
Yeah,
now it's only worth like 50 cents.
Yeah, maybe a nickel. But it's cool. Brenda says we're hanging on to that. She said that might be the one. I said I doubt it, but we will. Now you asked me what this is. That is a bear. I have collected these little bears.
Oh,
for years.
I knew that was a bear.
And I've got them sitting here. I have 3 bear friends that I have on my desk, and they're on the desk behind me. And I believe this is a good image of them right here. I did this on purpose because I knew somebody would say, "What is that on that under that?"
Somebody would say something stupid.
They would ask me, "What is that under that bear's nose or that nickel's nose?" I mean. Well, it's these 3 guys, and it's actually the guy on the back. I thought, how appropriate, and a big fat bear who's laid back on his computer in the woods. That's. I really like. I also think this one's very apropos here. The guy on the right has a squirrel in his hand. So there's Tim, the Tennessee bear, chasing yet another squirrel. And then the guy on the bottom is hiking and just smoking his pipe and got his hat propped up. And I used to smoke a pipe some too. So I guess that was kind of appropriate. But anyway, that's what my nickel was laying on. And I thought, well, I'll just take a picture so I can show you when I get it back. So I've got 3 of these, maybe another one somewhere, all different pose.
And yes, Ian, I can recognize a bear.
He can recognize them better when they're standing.
I have recognized many of them.
I have one more thing. I just closed it and I shouldn't have figure out which one of these is it. I'm going to show you one more thing I found in the woods the other day. Okay, that's not the one I want.
Oh, cool. I love finding things in the woods.
I do too.
Unless they're like dead humans. When my old bird dog Daisy recognized a dead human in the woods and went to roll in him.
Oh no.
Yeah.
You told me about that.
Oh yeah.
I don't. Yeah, that we don't have to talk about that right now.
We don't.
Okay. All right.
Most things you find in the woods are cool.
Yeah, most things aren't dead bodies.
Yeah.
Now watch me not be able to make this big and let you guys see it because you'll appreciate this. Well, heck. All right, we're going to try it anyway. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it very good, but we'll see. All right, look in the upper left-hand corner here. No, not that one. Why did that come up?
Who's that, William?
That's my in-law that died in Anzio. I mean,
that's a sensible.
Yeah, that's a sensible that died on Anzio Beach the day they invaded Italy in World War II.
Yeah.
I don't know why that came up though. That's not even on my screen. I've got a picture here of not a picture, but a little short video. I don't know why it didn't open. I mean, I don't know why it didn't open to that instead of that gravestone. Huh. You know what? It did it again. I bet it won't show. I bet I can't show it. Anyway, I got one of those big old black and yellow millipedes.
Oh, one of the big ones?
Like one of the big ones that crawls out from under the leaves, you know?
Yeah.
And he came crawling out from under the leaves the other day while we were looking at that
1,000-legger.
that dam. Phil and I were standing there by the road, and he come walking out. Okay, can I not make that move somehow? I don't add a video. There he is.
There he is. Oh, beautiful.
Oh, yeah. Look at him.
I don't know if I've ever seen that species.
Actually, now that I'm looking at him, he looks a little different too. He's could be a younger. I guess it could be a different age one. But look at all. You know what? You got to respect a critter that's got that many legs and can get them all coordinated and walk, not trip itself up. Can you imagine trying to walk with even half that many legs?
I can't even walk on my own two.
I struggle with the two I got.
Not very coordinated, anyway.
Anyway.
Look at that.
Man.
What a gorgeous critter.
Yeah, well, isn't that though? I just love those things. They're just, I can't remember if those are bodies or not. I've never been bit by one.
I don't think millipedes.
There's another one.
I don't think millipedes bite you.
No, centipedes can. And there's
centipedes will bite that holy snot out.
Yeah, there's a couple of big centipedes that live in the woods around here too. Every once in a while you find one, and I just never messed with them.
Well, I don't know if you remember seeing them in New Mexico, but we had centipedes like this long.
Yeah, yes.
And their heads were the size of your thumbnail, and they could bite the heck out of you.
Tina said, those things freak me out. No respectable creature needs so many legs. Well, there you'll have it, though. They've certainly got
millipedes are like totally harmless.
Yeah, but centipedes have even more legs, I think.
No, less.
No, they have less. That's right. They have less. But they bite. They can bite. They tend to bite.
They can bite the snot out of you.
But those big millipedes out in the woods are just kind of fun.
Millipedes are like just harmless plant.
And they roll up, you know.
They're like vegans. They're totally harmless.
Maybe that's it. Maybe that's the deal. Maybe they are. Maybe that's the thing. I don't care. I don't like either one of them. That's okay. I respect that decision. I've been around some other people that wasn't that crazy about them either. You know, you learn these things when you're a kid or you're even an adult and you're out in the woods and something like that pops up by your foot and you look down and you say, oh, look, there's a cool millipede. And then you realize the person that was with you is already back at the truck. They saw it and they weren't too sure about that. I've had a couple of people do that to me. I had a snake one time. I was working at the airport.
Hold on. Okay. Go ahead.
Somebody handed I don't even think I caught it. I think somebody at the airport brought it to me because I had that reputation. So snakes would come my way, or they're, hey,
Yeah.
we need somebody to get a snake out of
Oh,
the APU.
Tim will take care of it.
Tim will get it. So one day, we had this window or a garage door kind of thing cut in the back of our hangar to let some air flow through in the summer when it was hot. And we were sitting there, and the doors rolled up, and we're sitting there on the door sill or whatever, having lunch. Well, we're through with lunch already, but we're still sitting there. And the boss that time walks over to us, and he's kind of a dandy looking fellow, suit and tie. He wasn't a.
He probably had a tie on.
He did. And I'm sitting there on the out. Now I'm facing outside. My feet are hanging off the outside, and I've got this little milk snake. It's about this long. Neat little snake. And I'm sitting there holding it. Well, this guy starts through the door to go outside. He's going to smoke a cigarette. He's going to go outside and smoke a cigarette, I believe. And he gets one arm through and one foot 3/4 of the way through that door sill. And then suddenly, poof, there's like this breeze at my back, and he's gone. And I started to say something to him. And when I did, there was nobody there to talk to. And I turned around and I said, where in the hell? So I can't even remember his name. I said, where'd he go? And somebody said, he left. And he did, buddy. He was gone. He come back around the corner around an airplane or something. He said, I'm over here. I ain't coming back over there till you get rid of that snake. I didn't even know how he saw the snake. He had but he was halfway through the door, and then boom, he managed to reverse that mechanical motion and go the other direction, just like that. Oh my God.
I had a little midget faded rattlesnake about that long.
Oh, well,
in my office. And I got to talking to somebody about, like, I don't see how people just kill these for no reason. and my game warden brother like walked by and he goes, I don't either. And I'm like, homie, like, like, I'm feeling you. and he goes, they haven't made a shovel handle long enough.
It's not that he wouldn't kill it. He just can't get close enough.
No, he was just deathly afraid of them. And I thought one day I'm gonna like get a little garter snake or something and like put it in his office. No. And my boss goes, do you want to be dead?
Do you want to die? Do you really
want to die today? Is it a hoka hey? Is it a good day to die? And I'm like, okay, I won't do it.
I mean, my kids used to bring me snakes and say, hey, what's this, Dad? And it scared my mother to death, bless her heart, because she was afraid that they were going to pick up a copperhead or something and bring it to me.
Or a crossbred.
Or a crossbred, yeah. That's another story too, but true story, but another story. Anyway,
Tony Purcell was always worried that I was going to get her son killed.
Picking up snakes?
Because we were always catching snakes.
Yeah.
Those water snakes are breeding with the copperheads. And
No, a family member who shall remain nameless, although I think she left, not her, but her kin to her, told me one time standing in the kitchen at his house that, by God, he knew for a fact that copperheads were crossbreeding with black racers. And that was the real problem, because now you had a mean, poisonous snake that was fast as hell. Because racers, you know how they move, they're quick. And he believed that, absolutely. I said, that doesn't happen.
It's not even physically possible.
I swear to you, that cannot happen. But Somebody had told him it did, and he believed it. Of course, he
Well,
also said they were releasing
like I
timber
said,
wolves.
Tony Purcell, she lived in the same part of the world.
True. That's
Believed this.
true.
Believe the same thing. Like, oh yeah, I hear those water snakes are crossbreeding with the copperheads, and it's like, well, they don't physically, they literally cannot do that.
But that was
One
your
of them
dad,
lays eggs, the other one doesn't.
for example. I don't know what they do once they crossbreed like that. They may
They come out in a soft shell.
and yeah, maybe that's what they do, like a turtle or something. Yeah, Brenda, your dad, he told me that because he believed. I mean, he was absolutely serious. Well, I probably told about this guy before, but we had one old gentleman that worked with us in the Boy Scouts. He was the father of one of the other scouts, and he was probably a little bit older than my dad because this guy had older brothers and sisters, and his name was Raymond Odell. Bless his heart, I loved him to death.
Raymond Odell. But
he wasn't big as he was a little guy. I'm sure a little Irish. I mean, and he was hard as a pine knot. You know what I mean? Not a big guy, little guy, but I wouldn't have crossed him for nothing. And he drove around in an old pickup truck with 3 speed on the column that he'd had for years and years. And he was absolutely mortified by snakes. And one of the other scouts, so we were all warned from the beginning, you do not bring a snake
mess with him.
and we kind of went with that. And one day this kid that was new to the scout troop, he come carrying up a dead little garter snake. Well, it might have been a little water snake. But anyway, it's about this big. Big around as my finger, maybe. Dead as a hammer. Head was flat. And he said, look, what is this? Or look what I found. And I looked up, and Mr. Odell is about 100 feet away, and he's got a shovel in his hand. Reared up. He said, you get any closer to me than that, boy, and I'm going to kill you. And he was serious, and he was scared. He did not like snakes. No way, no snake, no how. Huh? So I knew then that he was really serious.
You're not allowed to say, I'm going to kill you with this shovel, boy, if you get any closer to me.
That's true. I shouldn't.
You're not allowed to do that anymore.
That's true. That's true. But he wasn't going. You get any closer to him with a snake, and I don't think I said. Of course, I would because I'm like, it's dead. It's okay. It's dead. He didn't care. He did not care if it was dead. When they won't have too many. Wait a minute. Millipedes need to give up some of their legs for snakes. Then they wouldn't have too many, and snakes would have just enough. How many you reckon that ought to be? I mean, 4, or you think maybe they ought to have 6?
Snakes get along just fine without them.
Give some to the snakes. That's a thought.
If you've ever been around a coach whip or a black snake or any of those, a racer, if you've ever been around one, they don't need legs.
No, they don't need legs. Man, I'll never forget one that what was the guy's name? It was had body. What was his name?
Doug Burkett.
Doug. We went to his house one day, and he had snake cages, aquariums all in the room full. And in one of those, I'll never forget, he had some kind of Western coach whip that was just in that thing, just nut trying to get. I mean, it was just so hyper, I couldn't believe it.
Well, I
out there.
never saw Tim Patton laugh as hard as he did as when I grabbed. We had those big old black coach whips in Arkansas that were pink. Their back half was pink and their front half was black.
Yeah.
And I grabbed one day, and it just went to. They always bit at your face for some reason, and it went to bite me on my cheeks, bite me on my forehead, and I was working up trying to get to its head to hold it
so you could control it.
Yeah, and I have never seen a human being laugh that hard in my life. He literally fell over and was laying on his back laughing.
Folks, while you're watching, let's observe a couple of things about
that
situation. He didn't offer to help. No.
He just fell over laughing.
Well, his friend was just bleeding all over the place.
And those dang coach whips, when they bite you, they break their teeth off in you.
Oh, great!
So you just have just like a racer would, you're just bleeding everywhere. And he thought that was the funniest thing he'd ever seen. And the fact that I was still trying to get a control of it.
And the fact that you hadn't let go of it yet.
And I hadn't just throwed it back on the ground.
I missed that. I kind of like to have seen that in a way. But.
He and I also had a great big canebrake rattlesnake in our hands one day.
An arc from Arkansas?
Mm-hmm. On the Mena River. I think it was at Mena, not the Mena River. Well, I don't remember the name of the river. The Obed.
Oh, okay.
We caught this great big rattlesnake. I had it on the back half. He had it by sort of its head, and it was reaching. It was reaching back with the fang. Yeah. And we looked at each other and we just dropped it on the ground. And we had 4 guys standing around us in a circle. And it was like we just pulled the pin on a grenade and dropped it.
Everybody's gone.
They were gone so fast.
Well,
and my cousin had that snake for.
Oh, really?
10 or 12 years, maybe.
Brad did.
Yep.
Oh man, that's not a.
It was a big old canebrake.
One thing you don't want to do when you're holding a canebrake is sort of have a hold of its head, because sort of having a hold of its head is not a good place.
They reach back.
Yeah, because they do things like pull through your hand and bite your finger. Or
exactly.
They do things. You got to not sort of have it. You got to either have it or you don't want it. One or the other.
And that was the deal. It was like, this is going to end poorly.
Good thing you both let go.
We just dropped it, and the 4 guys that were all afraid of snakes, they just left the country.
Oh my goodness, the things we've done.
Oh, the things we've done and survived.
So far, anyway. Merciful heavens. Well, folks, you've wasted, as the car guy says,
you've wasted a lot of time.
You've wasted another good 3.5 hours. How did I do that? How did we talk that long? I don't mind it, but at the same time, other people might want some airtime or something. I don't know. Anyway, I guess I ought to get off here, guys. Let everybody else, go about their day. I got to see what my wife has planned for the day, but she did say something up there a minute ago. I don't remember what it was. Oh, I know what I got to do, and I don't even want to talk about this, but I got to go. I got to go find some plumbing tools. I got to do a little bit of plumbing. Chuck says another great. Oh, thanks, Chuck. Appreciate it, buddy. Tell you what, look forward to it. In the next couple of weeks, we're going to have a very special guest, couple of very special guests on hand from my former house of employment, and this should be a really good show.
Ian said,
didn't feel over 4.
3.5 hours, and I didn't feel over 4.
Thanks again. I appreciate that, buddy. But glad to see you nonetheless. Always good to have you around. You're good for a lap or two, always. Oh, me. Tina, you have a good weekend. Chuck, you have a good weekend.
We got. Are we up for the 4 panel next week?
Don't know if it's next week, but it should be in either next week or the week after. I'm hoping. Okay. He said give him a couple of weeks to get his schedule open. So I think it'll be. I'm gonna call him this week and see what.
He's retired.
Well, that's true. He's retired. Well, he's almost retired. Cottrell is retired. David is within a month or so being retired.
Oh, David so
he's still working, but he's
yeah.
If he ain't starting to let go of some things and not be busy all the time, then that's his fault. But I'm sure he will. He was excited about the whole idea, and he said give him a couple of weeks, and he'd have it figured out. So I don't know exactly what day it's going to be. But the sooner the better. I can't wait. I just cannot wait for you to meet these guys and introduce them to the world, and to you particularly, because I think you'd love these guys. Both these guys are our people, and both of them are real sharp, and both of them just have a whole different outlook on a lot of things, and both of them can tell a story. I mean,
I can't wait.
I can't either. It's going to be so good. I just know it's going to be best show ever. I just have to believe that. And if it ain't, it's still going to be
million followers.
It's even million followers.
We're going viral next weekend.
Do what?
We're going viral next weekend.
I hope it's next weekend. I can't wait. I think it'll probably be weekend after next, but I'll call him this week and see what he's figured out, because I ain't letting him off the hook. I mean, he could get busy and forget, but I'm not going to let him off the hook. He's promised me now. It's going to happen. I'm going to tell him that I can't do this because I've already told you about it. The bell, as Ralphie says in the movie, but the bell rang. But the bell rang. Better than a Looney Tunes show.
Your brother's got his tongue stuck to the flagpole.
But the bell rang.
But the bell rang.
Oh, I'm not. Or the fisheries dude drawing on. Which fisheries dude? Now you got my mind clicking. Did I ever show you the guys that had the guy that had the Bigfoot in his backyard? If I haven't, I need to. That's out there on the interweb. I think I could show that. But the bell rang.
I'm leaving.
Mark got a special letter this week that was co-signed. Or no, what is that? Countersigned. In ink. All right, guys. Thanks a lot. Ian, always good. Tina, Chuck, anybody else that's left. I think I've run everybody else off. But have a great week. We'll see you next week. And like I said, within the next week or two, we're going to have a special show. I hope everybody can be here. Yeah, it's just going to be off the hook, as they used to say.
It's going to be good.
You've seen the Bigfoot dude. Okay, I thought I had showed that. The Bigfoot guy was something else. All right, but brother, you take care. I'll talk to you in a day or two. You have a good rest of your weekend.
You too.
Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.